Hello, everyone, and welcome to another small screen Star Wars. As always, I'm Julian Mush. I'm joined by Rachel Wilkinson.
Hello.
Virtually today.
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay. I guess that's just part of being a parent or something. I don't know.
Yeah, sometimes I have to babysit my own kid.
The closest I am to that is having a dog, which is really not the same at all.
No,
so.
it's not.
Well, it is. I am responsible for a human, or sorry, not a human life. Another another being's life. So that's like, and there he goes. You actually making an appearance live on air.
That's true.
As per usual. That's Winston.
I mean, I guess the only difference is you can leave your dog at home by itself. I can't leave my baby home by himself.
You can. But they'll piss people off if they're barking and stuff. We've gotten that before. But you know what? Our neighbors are the ones that cause him to bark. So the neighbors have a hard time. Like, they don't have much of a leg to stand on.
Yeah,
they're
that's
like,
fair.
oh, he's barking too much. Like, well, maybe if you guys stop freaking out upstairs, wouldn't be barking at you. Anyway, big episode this week. I really liked it. I was getting some mixed reviews online, it seems like. We're going to talk about, obviously, The Acolyte, episode 6, season 1, episode 6. It's only have a 5.3 out of 10 on IMDb. Though I can't, again, these reviews are hard to trust at this point. It's hard to say. Leslie Headland had a statement about this. I don't know where it is off the top of my head. I didn't save it. But basically, she's just like, she's not surprised by the nature of the reviews, and just like, you know, she basically says, if you've been in this fandom long enough, you know that there are certain parts of the fandom that do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
She doesn't really take it doesn't take it personally, doesn't think it's that serious.
No, that's good. Good for her.
Yeah, I mean, she's taking the high road, obviously. Here's this is funny. I'll read this featured review on IMDb because it feels like it fits.
Okay.
This one's titled, I hate to admit it, I actually enjoyed this one. By Jacko B. Jamie, I think. Jacob? Jacob Jamie.
Okay, I was like, Jacoby?
No, I just can't. It's really hard to read usernames because I'm never sure where they want me to, like, what emphasis they want me to put on which syllable, you know? Okay, so after 5 rough episodes with varying quality, I found myself getting invested in the story here. So last episode didn't do it for him, apparently. This is the first one. Now, this episode didn't have any action like the previous episode. In fact, it was just the characters talking to each other, but it started to explore topics about the Jedi that a standard story would not. The Jedi are not the ultimate good. They never were. The show is finally exploring the galaxy from the dark side of the Force, as should have been from the start. I'm not going to sit here and say that Sith or the Sith wannabes should be looked at as the good guys, but their arguments about the nature of the Force and how the Jedi use it holds a bit of truth. The Jedi believe that they should be the sole masters of the Force, and the dark side should never be used. And it is this arrogance and hubris that causes them to fall. Perhaps the show is going to be able to expand on the story in a meaningful way. I mean, yes, those are the themes that Leslie Headland has talked about wanting to explore in this show. I think that's accurate. No, I don't think anyone's trying to position the Sith or the dark side users as the good guys. Though I do think this episode does a good job of kind of muddying the waters in a good way. It positions the Jedi in a very kind of sinister way this week, while the Qimir comes across as very likable. So yeah, and we'll get into all that, of course, in the recap. But I wanted to mention this because for me, the two characters talking to each other in the room is like the best you can get.
It is.
It's the best. It's the
very
best.
Good.
And yes, the action is awesome. Last week was really, really cool. But I think ultimately you remember these ideas more than you remember the individual moments. Of course, there's obviously lines and that kind of thing. It makes me think of Denis Villeneuve's comments about, you don't remember lines of dialogue, you remember, the moments. That being said, I do remember lines of dialogue, and we'll talk about some of them that they allude to from Star Wars in the past.
I was like, how do they mean you don't remember lines of dialogue? That's all people remember sometimes. Is like quoting movies and quoting shows and I don't know. I feel like that's just like such a thing in meme culture and in culture when it comes to like movie culture. It's just quoting movies and quoting shows.
It's true. Denny comes from the school of visual storytelling.
I see.
That's his perspective. I think he's not entirely accurate because that was the first thing I thought of. I was like, I can't remember how many times I've quoted Dumb and Dumber.
Well, exactly. Yeah.
A movie that I don't think from a visual standpoint really is doing anything that exciting. So not always, there's no, just like, this episode today, there isn't one way to look at it. There's many different perspectives. Mm-hmm. And again, this episode, I think, does a good job. So we'll get into all that. Little distracted over on my side, though, got to be honest. Lost my job last week. So
yeah, it's a bummer, man.
Definitely a bumski. It's a bumski for sure. I'm on the job hunt. I'm trying to live by the idiom that, like, I've ever heard them say that, like, the looking for a job is a full-time job. So I'm trying to put as much work into finding a new job as quickly as possible before I run out of money.
Well, like I said, I do get you get a little bit of a severance there, right? So it's like if you get a new job, it's like you get double paid. So
that would be sweet, but I'm not. I actually would be fine with like taking off some time.
Well, yeah, you can also just take the time
and just coast if I can. But again, you got to line up that second job or the new job, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's on my mind. I don't think I'm going to bring any of that into this episode, but it's hard to say. I bring only what I bring with me, or whatever the line is.
Yeah.
Acing that quote. Okay. So a little bit of housekeeping. I mentioned the having lost my job thing. The reason is I really want to send you all on a guilt trip. So if you want to help support the show, we need it more than ever.
It's true.
Head over to patreon.com/TowerBabbleCast for as little as $5 a month. You can literally keep the lights on. We just recorded our last film club. These are exclusive to the patrons. We did Conspiracy Theory. Didn't love that movie.
No.
From 1996. No, it's a little all over the place. It's a bit too long. The performances are a bit too weird, in my opinion. Anyway, it's fine. They're not all going to be bangers, but you can hear exclusively on the Patreon feed. And we're going to be doing Twister next month. Twister.
Oh, like the original.
Twister. The new one that's coming out this month.
Oh, there's a new one. That's pretty cool.
You didn't know that? Twisters?
Did not know. Was there two?
Yeah, there's twins! That's as they say in the...
Are they a dyad? A dyad in a tornado force?
That's right. Twins is a big theme, apparently. These days. So, yes, Twisters is coming out this month. So we're going to be doing Twister. But that's all to say that, again, in that recording, which unless you're a patron, haven't heard. But I mentioned just how nice it is, what a relief it is to be able to know that I don't have to pay for the website, and I don't have to pay for the hosting services or the services that we use for recording and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It helps me focus on the content and not on the managing of the show and the podcast, which is really not the fun part. The fun part is the doing of it, the talking about the shows, the movies and everything that we love. So I'm hoping it's sustainable at the stage that we're at now. But that doesn't mean that we can't always take on a little bit more.
Yeah.
Which allow me to do a little bit more interesting things.
Maybe he won't have to get a new job, guys, if we can get more listeners.
We're not
Tell
quite
your
there
friends.
Yet. That would be, listen, if that happened, what a wild twist that would be. Not expecting that. But if as the community want to come together and pay me to do this full time, I'm not going to say no. But
same.
No pressure.
Same no over here.
Yeah.
So tell your friends, like, share, subscribe.
Yeah, and Rachel has a kid to take care of.
Yeah, guys, come on.
Yeah. Anyway, it's not an actual guilt trip.
No, it's not.
We are really happy with the fact that we can put on the show sustainably.
I'm just surprised anybody listens. So, if you're here, we appreciate
it's a shocker. It's a shocker.
Yeah.
Every time I see the numbers, I'm like, wow.
It's pretty cool.
There's more than one.
There's more than
just
one.
my mom.
It's not just our moms. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you again, everyone who's been listening to this far, especially through Acolyte, which, as we've just talked about, is definitely improving from the front half of the season. So sucks to suck if you dropped off early. Yeah.
Yeah. I saw a funny tweet because I had to download actual whatever X now so I can see things. But I saw a funny one and it was about the Darth Teeth mask and how it sold out in 24 hours. And whoever was tweeting was like, "Oh, I thought nobody watched this show."
Yeah, apparently it's immediately. I also saw another tweet about the Acolyte being the second biggest Star Wars show that they've done. I'm assuming behind The Mandalorian is my guess.
Okay.
That it's doing very, very well
in terms of viewership.
In terms of viewership.
Oh, yeah. So people are just like hate watching, but it's funny because it's actually making the show do well. That's hilarious. But I think people are just actually just watching it and enjoying it. Like we just hear the haters a little bit more.
Yes, that's right. Because they're loud and annoying.
Yeah, that's funny.
But then the quote tweet was just haters are going to hate, which is fair and true and accurate.
Yeah,
haters are indeed going to hate. But we're not haters here unless it's deserved, which is not
deserved.
Unless it's deserved, but it's not. At least not yet. Boy, what a surprise it would be if this all turned out if they just fell on its face in the last episode or something like that. Not expecting that. Okay, so make sure to follow us on Twitter at Tower Babblecast, Facebook.com/Tower Babblecast. Head over to the website towerbabble.ca to find everything that we do. Let's get into it. Just quick look back at last week. Obviously, the cast of the show cut in half. Literally in some cases.
Yeah.
Where's the oh my god, hold on. There it is.
Oh my god.
Did you hear
it? I heard it.
Yeah, okay.
And I hated
it. Just checking. But we got a comment from Daphne Keene, who of course is played Jecki on the Acolyte. And just they were asked about the decision to kill Jecki and Yord, how they feel about it. So, quote, "There are so many directors in blockbuster sagas that are so scared to kill off their characters." I know. Do think it's funny. This is me interjecting. There was a couple shots across the bow at our friend and yours, Dave Filoni, because I think one of the biggest criticisms that he has, of course, he's got promoted. He's very much overseeing storytelling at Star Wars right now, and deservedly so. But he's really bad for not killing his characters or not being able to. Yeah. And in fact, to the point where he brings back dead ones. So
he's brought back more characters than he's killed.
Yeah, and I think I'll continue this quote here, but I think it rings true what they're saying. So she says they're scared to kill off the characters and are so comfortable with bringing characters back to life, and all of these little writer tricks that I think are quite cheeky. He said, and I really like that she was actually killing people, because if you're not making it dangerous, then why are we even here? Why are we concerned by the story? Why do we care? So, and we've talked about this before. There's more to stakes than life and death. That being said, when people draw lightsabers, that those should be the stakes. Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
She says, continues here, Leslie Headland had such a backbone as a writer to make you fall in love with these characters and then slaughter them all like pigs and be like, yeah, this is our villain. We're not just going to say he's so big and scary. We're actually showing you how big and scary he is.
Yeah, I love that.
And so I totally agree.
Yeah, I agree too.
It is a bold thing to hire an actor to write a story that says, hey, this is going to be this really cool character. People are really going to like you, but you're only going to be in half the series. And then you're going to die. So, and I think you can understand why some creators, especially maybe in animation specifically, right, where you're working with a lot of the same voice actors over and over again, that you want to keep working with these actors, so you find ways to figure that out, right? Whether it's bringing Ahsoka back, or it's Maul or whatever, or we're not just not killing characters in general. Whatever, they're finding some way to escape in some way. Obviously, there is one major death in Rebels that is effective, right? But I think we think about that death, and I'm not going to spoil it here, but I think we think about that death, and we think about the impact of it because it's permanent, and we they make a very important point of telling us that it's one of those kind of moments in time that can't be changed, because if you pull them out of that moment, Ahsoka style, then everything could be much more terrible.
Of course, yeah, of course.
Right? So, the life and death stakes do have weight. I think the differences between good and bad versions of that is when you care about the characters or not.
Yes,
right?
Of course.
And I really liked Jecki.
Me too. I know, me too. Yeah. But that's the best thing about it, is to have that feeling. So I think they did a very good job all around. Like the actor did a great job portraying Jecki, and the writing made you like her enough that we cared when she died. And like that's a very important thing in storytelling, is to actually give a shit about a character that we just met, a few episodes ago dying. Is like, that's great. That's great storytelling, and that's great acting. And I love it all. I just think it's, I don't know, kudos.
It's to the whole team. Storytelling. I think that's because a good story requires good characters and good moments and stakes and all those kinds of things, and execution on things like even, Qimir's reveal, though we all saw it coming, was effective because it comes along with this character death that was shocking, right? So you kind of get to ride on the coattails of that emotional response. It's good storytelling. So kudos to Daphne Keane on calling this out and making a statement here on that. And then kudos even more so to Leslie Headland on having the cojones to follow through with her vision of, this has to be real. We're going to murder these folks. Okay, let's get into our review of the episode itself before we get into the recap. Rachel, what's your overall thoughts on this episode?
There's like so much that I liked about this episode. And again, it's these conversations that were being had. I think were just, I don't know, like deep and impactful, and again, really cool kind of. I love the kind of, not the plot twist here, but that the switch of May and Osha, like with these two
Parent Trap situation.
Yeah, exactly. Like I very much like this whole scenario that we're in, right? And how they're both dealing with it kind of in different ways. I don't know. There's just a lot of really good scenes. I will say I didn't love the lightsaber whip, but I can get over it. Yeah, it's all right. Like I'm not mad at it. It's not going to like ruin my day. Yeah, it's not going to ruin my day.
And not by like it's not long, like lengthwise. It just means it happens for like a split second and then it's over.
I'm just like so curious about it. Like, is that how it always is? Like, it's odd.
Well, I have
an odd choice.
There's something from the Star Wars data bank that gives us a little bit of insight into this.
I was like, that was pretty much the only thing that I was kind of like meh about in this episode. Everything else I was pretty pumped about. I thought it was very good.
I think it has a bit of a weird look to it, but we'll get to that when we talk about it later.
But overall, like I enjoyed everything. I know it's funny because we went from a very, very action heavy episode to like a talk heavy episode. They're like completely opposite. Like that, the last episode felt like there was barely any dialogue, and then this one is just all dialogue. So it's a very interesting feel to go from such a heavy weighted, episode where we're mourning the loss of these characters to a completely different kind of track, right? But I thought it was still did well. It doesn't feel like the pacing is off. Still feels good.
Yeah, I thought the pacing was very good here. I think the part of that is that because we, last episode we brought all the characters together, right? And now we have, well, almost all of them. Obviously, we have the Venestra thing that's introduced and reintroduced into this episode. But essentially, we have, having now killed most of the cast, we split our main characters into three main plot points or three perspectives. And I think that gives the show energy. It's, I don't think all the plot lines are created equal, and we'll talk about which ones I think my favorite. I think Osha and Qimir are obviously the most intriguing.
Yeah, absolutely.
May and Saul has some good moments, but I think is needlessly frustrating at parts. And then the Venestra stuff, I'm not really sure where I come down on that yet. I don't. There's just too many question marks still.
Yeah, I find the way they're dealing with things probably the most frustrating, but I think that's the point. Is like, again, they're just like, they're showing you this kind of like stubbornness of the Jedi that's just like so annoying, where you just want to shake them all and be like, can you just figure it out? Like, why? Why are you going down all these other rabbit holes? Like, why are you not just like getting it? It's just like, but that's the frustrating part of the Jedi sometimes. So it's necessary.
but I also I feel like they're trying to set up something else here, and I'm just not sure if they're doing a very effective job at it. I'm not sure. We'll get to that when we get into it.
Yeah.
That being said, it does remind me of Game of Thrones when it's at its best, which was, lots of different plot points. Like a good, middle of the series Game of Thrones, you'd switch between one episode would follow 3 different plot lines, and then you jump to the next episode with 3 different plot lines.
Yeah.
Right? Because you'd have so many juggling.
You have so many characters.
Characters all over the map, and they're all talking with different people, and yada, 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 right? And then later as the series went on, the characters came together, and then you followed less storylines. But the show had a really strong energy and momentum to it when it was split up like that, because you were always interested in knowing what was going to happen with those characters next. And you got to have multiple, sometimes you got to have, storylines that played off each other in interesting ways, where you'd get like one version of someone reacting to something and then someone else reacting to it in a different way.
Right.
And how they handle it speaks about their character and the dialogue and what they're willing to reveal and all that kind of stuff. I think it's good. We get a lot of that here, and I think it gives this show momentum and energy. There's been some talk about really felt like the show took a while to get under its feet, and maybe wasn't able to maintain the audience that it maybe wanted, or maybe it lost a few people early on. I do have maybe, in retrospect, I think there are some fair criticisms you can make about how they decided to handle the first 2 episodes, especially. Maybe even the first 3.
Okay, yeah.
It does feel a little bit slower, a little bit clunkier, and the decision to do an entire flashback episode by episode 3 feels maybe a little misguided. I'm not sure what the best way to do it is. Maybe you string it along, elements of the backstory you string along throughout.
Oh, throughout.
Again, I'm not trying to write. I'm not trying to write the show again here, but I think there is an element of
I see what you're saying.
There just wasn't enough momentum early on, and people were chomping at the bit to criticize it. And this is something that Star Wars is facing, a lot of properties are facing right now, that maybe they didn't put their best foot forward. They had confidence in where the show was going to go and get to, and I think we're at that part. We're in the juicy middle here, and it's very satisfying. But early on, it was a little bit harder to get into.
Yeah.
So
fair enough. I just, I get what you're saying about maybe doing a through line of the flashback, but at the same time, it would, I don't know, in certain episodes, it just also wouldn't work to have pieces of that in there. So, I mean, I think they probably thought about that when they put this show together, right? Where are we going to put these flashbacks? I still think we're going to get bits of another one.
Yeah, we are.
I don't think it'll be a full episode, because we only have 2 episodes yet. It's got to be, but I don't think it can't be a full episode. The penultimate episode can't be a flashback, can it? I guess it could be.
You can do whatever you want, but I don't think it's necessarily a good idea. Maybe a half an episode. This stems back to another criticism that I think is warranted, which is the runtimes. And this is something that's been bugging me with Star Wars TV for a while. Basically, the only exception is Andor to this, because they have they understood what a TV show is. 32 minutes, or this technically the runtime is 38 minutes here, but when you strip away the recap and you strip away the credits, we're much closer to 30 minutes of actual screen time. And this show would do itself so many favors, I think, by committing to that more traditional hour-long runtime.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I think we would have been able to get to some of the stuff more quickly. Okay, this is 8 episodes. If they really only had 4 hour-long episodes to tell, or 5, then just do that then.
Gotcha.
You're not doing yourself any favors, I don't think, by, we talked about how Day and Night was split into 2 different episodes. That would have been one incredibly amazing episode if it was one
that's
episode.
True. Yeah.
Right? And, the Day ends on kind of a partial thought, right? And you get that cool reveal and cliffhanger with the stranger, floating in. By the way, found out they shot that in reverse to add a little bit of eeriness to it. Totally think that was achieved.
What do you mean they shot it in reverse?
they shot it, and so instead of him floating down, that they shot it floating away.
Got you.
And then they reversed it in post, and that kind of adds a little bit of like weirdness to it.
I like that. Yeah, I like that a lot.
So yeah, that's cool. Anyway, I just, again, I think this episode ends on kind of an incomplete thought, and in general, I think Star Wars at Lucasfilm would probably do themselves a favor by taking a step back and considering, can we tell more traditional television style stories that can be self-contained but a part of a larger story?
Yeah.
As opposed to just that, that 5-hour, 6-hour, 8-hour movie, which is really what this is, and I think is hurting because of it. When you have a compelling story here and you're seemingly cutting things off at arbitrary points, it doesn't feel satisfying, and I think that's just a larger problem with the show. So that's one piece. I get anything else you want to mention about this episode?
No, I don't think so. I'm excited to get into the recap.
Okay, well, don't get too excited because I have a couple more thoughts I want to mention here.
Okay.
I think this episode specifically really had a good job of introducing this air of mystery to everything. There is this, it reminds me of the prequels. During the prequels, we know Palpatine is the Sith Lord, right?
Yes.
And we're ahead of the Jedi. We know more than they do, and it gives us a sense of anxiety that we know that there's this impending doom coming. But at the same time, even especially in Attack of the Clones, especially when Obi-Wan is like uncovering the mystery of the clones and all this kind of stuff, there's just this eerie sense of something isn't right going on, right? And I feel, and it's really hard to put your finger on it, and I think intentionally so. I think they do a really good job of achieving that feeling here. I think a part of that, again, is that kind of reversal of the musical cues and some of the visual cues that they give us between the Jedi and Qimir here. Like, it's just a little bit different than what we mentioned before, or what we're used to. And then someone mentioned this on Twitter, but the score itself, apparently, I didn't notice this necessarily at the time, but on rewatch, I did kind of clock this. Similarities to what we heard from Attack of the Clones, specifically in kind of the mystery music, the kind of the flute, I think, is where that mostly comes together.
Oh, okay.
And the woodwinds in general. And kind of adding this sense of uncovering a mystery as we go along that I think is effective from a musical perspective. I think the music continues to be very good.
It is very good
in this show. I think the performances were markedly better, especially in the latter half of the season. I thought the performances this episode were particularly good. The return of the twin titles. So we got this, obviously, episode 6, Teach/Corrupt. I think I like it. It just makes the single title episodes stand out even more as being kind of feeling out of place, and really kind of comes back to that. It feels like those should have been one episode together.
Right. Yeah.
If, day and night is doing the same thing as Teach/Corrupt, opposite sides of the same coin. Right. And now it's kind of like, it just really shines a spotlight on that. It's really just, that's the most nitpicky of nitpicks, but I think it's something to mention. What else? I just also think that the kind of and this was mentioned in that IMDb review, the certain point of view Star Wars conceit, right? That it's true from a certain point of view. I think that concept really hits home in this episode. Something that the show has been trying to achieve. Kind of missed the mark, I think, in the first half of the season, but I think is really nailing now. So that works for me. And then this seduction to the dark side thing that May is going through, I think is really fascinating. There was some interviews that Leslie Headland gave around her fascination with the romantic side of the dark side and how it can be seductive.
Yeah.
I think, so we get the corrupt is the flip of Teach, right? And when we think of corruption, we think of more likely the Sith than we think of the Jedi. You could probably reverse that. You think of this, that applies same thing to justice and revenge and these kind of twin concepts. But this idea of you can be seduced into corruption is, I think, a really fascinating idea. So they're obviously wanting to explore that. We get some of that here. We'll get into that as we get into the actual breakdown itself as well. And then I also really like Qimir's kind of soft personality here. Again, very reminiscent of Palpatine. Thinking of things like the opera scene, obviously the famous opera scene. So, and then we have this theory. We'll get to it as we get into this here, but the potential for Venestra potentially to be the dark side twist character in this show, given Qimir's scars on his back.
Okay.
So interesting theories out there. We'll get into it as we get into the review, but into the recap story. But just wanted to mention it off the top as we kind of talk about it. Just keep that in mind. Okay. Let's get into the recap. So again, this is season 1, episode 6, Teach/Corrupt. The logline is, on a distant island, unsettling questions about identity and destiny arise. Although it's funny because that's just one plot line, but we'll allow it. Directed by Hanel M. Culpepper. This is a long time. This is a Black female director from who's done a lot of TV over the last many years. She's been directing since 2002. So impressive.
Yeah, that is impressive.
So on shows such as Westworld, the Star Trek Discovery, Star Trek Picard, Supergirl, The Crossing, Flash, Lucifer, Gotham. It goes on here. Quantico, Empire, Castle, Grimm, Criminal Minds. Like a lot of a lot of stuff over the years. So the thing that I think is funny here is that a lot of this from the more traditional TV side, on the side of television that typically has a lot lower budgets than you would see in a Star Wars television, they rely on the two people in a room talking to hit that 60-minute runtime that they have to hit for broadcast television. So she has a lot of experience with that. I think that's put to good use here. Written by Leslie Headland and Jocelyn Bio. Okay, we start on a unknown planet. We start with some uneasy strings. Lots of strings, has been pretty much throughout the entire series. We've been getting a lot of strings in the score. It's the subtitles say unsettling music.
Yeah, I do like the string score. It's very good.
Yeah, it just keeps you off balance, right?
Yeah,
and so, sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, it's just I like it. It's eerie. It's got that horror movie feel. Yeah. Did you see any of the theories on what this planet could be?
Yeah, I saw one of them. There's something from Legends, and I went to look through Twitter. I ran out of time. I couldn't find it. But
I do have it here.
Okay, you have it. Okay.
So there is a theory that it's Baldemnik.
Okay.
So BAL''DMNIC was an ocean planet adorned with rocky tropical islands in the Bakrofsen system of the Arul sector, located within the Outer Rim territories.
Are you reading from Wikipedia right now?
No, I'm reading off some. I mean, it could be from Wikipedia, but it's something else. The hostility of its native Conmi species, together with its extremely harsh climate, discouraged most people from ever visiting the planet, despite the beauty of its giant rock cliffs, pristine beaches, and vast azure oceans. It was mostly of interest to cartographers, xenobiologists, and fisherfolk until knowledge of the planet's rich deposits of cortosis fell into the hands of Sith lords Darth Tenebros and Darth Plagueis.
Darth Tenebris, yeah.
So that's
Darth Plagueis. That's, I guess, again, this is, I think, from the novel Plagueis.
The Plagueis novel, yes. It's in that, and
yeah.
It's in the Clone Wars, episode 3 of the Clone Wars. That's the more like, not, oh no, it says 03 Clone Wars. So the Clone Wars that came out in 2003.
Oh, right. The one that's the 2D animated.
Yes,
style.
yes, yeah.
So appearances in Darth Plagueis audiobook, The Tenebrous Way, Star Wars Insider 130, the collected volume, and Star Wars Chapter 22, which is its first appearance. That's its first. So it actually first appeared in the animated series first.
Oh, okay, yeah. It's just interesting. I was like,
I'm just looking at it right now. Yeah. Interesting. So I think that's given its connection to Darth Plagueis, I think it's very likely that this is where this is set.
Yeah, well, that and the cortosis, because I feel like she at one point looks at the wall and there's it seems like there's cortosis there, but I could be wrong.
There is. There's a cortosis vein in the cave that they're in.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just don't have enough background on that to say. I think if you're a more casual Star Wars fan, the first thing you think of is Octu.
Octu, right? Yeah.
Which obviously we know from the prequel the sequel trilogy, where Luke was hanging out. And I think even so much to the point where the little creatures kind of look like the much bigger creatures. You know what I'm talking? When Luke goes and milks that weird
gross
thing.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. They kind of look like bigger versions of the little creatures we have here. By the way, those little creatures, they're called Skura. And they're designed to be a cross between an anteater and a duck.
They're cute.
They are. This is from the databank. Foraging among the rocks of an unknown world, the Skura use their long snouts to find sustenance on the shores of an island retreat. So they are really cute, and really, I think, another great example of when Star Wars can really do creature design really well, and especially in this, what doesn't look CG. I think these are some form of animatronic type thing. It's cool.
Yeah, they're very cute.
Puppet. So Unknown Planet. I think you're more likely correct that it's Baldemnik. But I think there's still an outside chance that it is Octu. I think there'd be something interesting about this idea that people knew about Octu, or Octu was something that people had been to before, but just didn't know that that's where the first Jedi Temple was. It's right under their nose type of situation. I like that idea. Although again, this idea of it being connected to Darth Plagueis and his master, Darth Tenebrous, I think is probably more interesting from a lore perspective.
Yeah.
I guess from a casual fan perspective, it'd be cool to know that this was the same planet that Luke was on. I don't know.
Do you think that makes the world too small, though, it being Octu?
It would have to be a good reason. They'd have to give
I agree.
a good explanation for why that was. And if it was it's a nexus of the Force type situation.
Yeah.
Then I think you'd have to figure out a way to explain why they didn't know about the dark side cave and the island that Luke was on, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
I will say this, that Octu specifically was filmed in the UK, and this island is in Portugal, the island of Madeira, which is actually, so it was used for this. It's also the location for the coastal landscape in one of the 4 worlds that can be found there. Sorry, I'm just reading. Including establishing shots of Ueda from the first episode and the bridge on Kofar. They've used it for multiple things. It's good, multi-use location.
It's a great location. I really, efficient. Yeah. I love being on location in the show.
100%. It just makes it feel
yeah.
It's a million times better. I feel like, so they said specifically that they weren't using the volume on the show, and fine, fair enough. Things still felt claustrophobic, and the sense of place was still off in the first 3 episodes. So, I think they do a much better job in this episode, especially this episode with this new location, giving us a sense of place. Okay, so this is obviously, I think, the same planet we saw May on when we first met the stranger at the end of episode 1, right?
Yes.
Seems likely, right? And we start with Osha. She's waking up, and she's in this unknown cave, and she takes in her surroundings. We start with a similar shot to when we first met Osha in episode 1, when she woke from that nightmare.
Yeah.
The camera like tilting up with her. I think that's a kind of a nice visual kind of callback. This is just as, we first met Osha in episode 1. This is the first time that Qimir is really getting to know her, and the first time that she's kind of getting to know herself in this different way. So it's kind of an interesting kind of, again, visual callback to this introduction concept.
Mm-hmm.
She rehydrates herself with some water from a canteen, and then spots a small creature, as you mentioned, the Skura, which leads her to a bag of May's clothes. And she's like, oh, what the heck? She needs her boots, some knives. She grabs one before venturing out of the cave. And as the strings pick up, I thought this is really cool. And the camera pulls back to reveal that she's on an island before cutting to the title card. It just kind of like raises the suspense a little bit.
Yeah.
As she kind of goes, dun, 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 where am I? That's kind of the sense of it. So it looks like Act 2, as we mentioned, but probably not. And then I think it's important to note that the show specifically calls it an unknown planet.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
So
could
I
just
think
be another
it's
place.
Funny that they had to do that because, to me, they set the precedent that they're going to name everywhere that they go.
Right.
They're going to use the subtitles. They're going to provide that.
That one's secret.
But this one's secret, so it's unknown, right? Or maybe it's no name. Maybe it's just
could be
a no name planet.
That's true.
Undiscovered. Yeah.
Right? Did you notice though? We thought that Osha had been force healed in the last episode, but she's not healed.
Well,
she's bandaged.
She has a bandage, but there is some force healing that happens.
Okay,
in the
fair
last
enough.
Go back and look. It happens. I just don't, maybe he's not able to like fully heal it. Maybe
but he can like keep her from dying or something. Yeah. Well, he didn't want to give her too much of his life force, just a little, just a touch.
Well, exactly.
It's still gonna hurt. The wound is still gonna hurt. It's just not as severe.
Well, it's not a gaping wound anymore.
It's
She's
just
obviously able
wound.
to move around pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Star Wars databank has this to say about the unknown world. On an unknown world, the high tides and general seclusion of the planet makes for a perfect hiding spot for training in the ways of the dark side. So, is it Baldemnik, which is known specifically for its cortosis stuff? I guess maybe this is when they discover it, maybe for the first time. But I don't know. There's just a lot of questions about this. Hopefully we'll find out more. I don't really have anything else to say about that. Okay. So we see Qimir / May's ship. This is, by the way, the name of that ship is the Exile 2, which is a cool name. It's parked out on a rocky outcropping just offshore. May continues to take in her surrounding, but spots Qimir walking away, going for a bath, as we'll find out. Any thoughts on this opening sequence?
Yeah, I mean, I found it interesting because honestly, if I were Osha, and I mean, maybe it was the circumstances of her getting knocked out, I wouldn't necessarily like immediately assume that I was in like danger. Like I would be like, oh, Saul saved me. Like he just took me to a safe spot, right? But I do like how she's like immediately kind of on edge. Yeah, it's good. Like the strings are really good. It's got that creepy kind of horror film, and I kind of also just really enjoy how like nonchalant he's being. Like Qimir, the stranger, he's just like slowly walking away. It's just like it's just very cool how she feels the need to like stalk him. It's like he 100% knows that you're there. Like it's just like he's not obtuse to the fact that you're there. He's like literally leading you, right? So
yeah, I mean the whole thing with Qimir in this episode is that he's putting on airs to some degree.
Yeah.
And he has to kind of play the role of the unassuming.
Yes, of course he does.
Unthreatening individual, right? Despite the fact that, she recognizes that he just killed all those Jedi, right? So I think his ability to disarm her, emotionally, is pretty masterful.
Yeah.
And we'll get to that as we get into that scene. But in general, he's doing a lot of misdirect in this episode that I think is very effective for him. And ultimately helps kind of create this sense of comfort that she's able to get later in the episode. It's really fascinating. We'll get into that. Okay. So we go to Kofar. the forest planet, Sol is taking off and sending a message to Coruscant. I feel like the timeline here is a bit weird because we start with May waking up on that planet. How were they able to leave so much faster and get back so much faster before? Because we ended last episode with Sol and May getting onto their ship, and Qimir and Osha were still on the planet. Right. So it just feels like a bit.
I don't necessarily think these things are happening at the same time. You know what I mean?
No, they don't have to be, but I think it just, even if you went from the last episode right into this episode,
I get what you're saying.
Jarring.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, okay, so we're on Kofar. Sol's taking off and sending a message to Coruscant at the same time, but the connection is spotty. By the way, this is another thing that I did a deep dive into the Star Wars databank. There'll be a few of these. His ship is called the Polon, which is named after a friend Leslie Headland had, who passed away before the premiere of the show. So
that's sweet. I was going to say I did like the ship. I always like when ships like click in and detach. I think they're really cool. And this one especially has a very neat design, the way it clicks in like that. It's not just like a little shuttle. I don't know. It seems like the whole ship just like splits in half. I kind of like it.
Yeah, I think it's super cool. More interesting ship designs are needed in Star Wars, in my opinion. So, okay. He sends this message, Code 0. There's been my whole team is dead.
Yeah.
He just skips right to the point. What I really like here about in this episode specifically is Lee Jung Jae's performance. I think he does a lot with very little.
Yeah.
And he's clearly, obviously very flustered here, and it comes through well. Meanwhile, May, disguised as Osha, is taking in the ship, not having been there since the day, the disaster when she was a child. We hear flashback audio from when she was a child, doing her test with Master Andara. And there's actually quite a few, like, audio flashbacks we get in this episode. Part of me wonders, in this case, I feel like it's her memory. She's remembering those moments.
Yeah.
Though I would certainly not remember much from that age.
Well, because you don't have trauma.
That's probably true.
I think it's a little different.
Yeah, those do tend to get stuck in there.
Yeah.
But later on with Andara, with Venestra, when she's kind of reviewing or looking back, taking in the scene of all the dead Jedi, she also gets audio flashbacks of that. Part of me wonders if it's like a Force thing. We Force echoes, those types of things that we've seen in the past, both in video games and in other media. So, just keep an eye out for that. The show doesn't do a good job of kind of just giving you necessarily the information to know what is or isn't something that the show is specifically doing for the audience's favor, or if it's something that a character is experiencing. But in this case, I think it's a little bit of both. In the case that she's experiencing a memory here, and not necessarily a Force echo, but it could be both. So just keep that in mind. It's interesting that we get that flashback to that audio because we actually never got to see or hear that.
That's true. In
the original episode. So, but it's basically exactly the same what we saw with Osha. So, no real new information there. Meanwhile, Basil watches on, and seems to be onto her. His nose knows, as they say.
I'm assuming that Saul can't talk to Basil, like only.
Only Yord
could talk to him. Okay, so that's the issue here. Because I was like, I guess they can't communicate because that's why they have that whole line about Yord being like, I chose to learn, whatever Basil's language.
Language or whatever. Yeah.
And it's like, and now you have a guy who can't talk to anybody else, Yord. So way to go.
Yeah. Congrats.
Yeah.
You're dead.
Yeah.
Anyway, May pulls out one of her knives, and it looks like she's trying to sneak up and kill Saul. Which seems like if that was your plan, you could have done that at any time, but okay.
Right, yeah.
But he never senses her presence, but he does sense her presence, and is like, hey, Osha, go take the wheel. I need to go reset the transceiver. By the way, we know that this is in the Outer Rim. This is the High Republic era. So we have the detachable hyperdrive that they connect to. but also the transmission, the ability to communicate across to Coruscant from the Outer Rim, that it doesn't work super great. I feel like totally works for the timeline.
Of course, yeah, because it's spottier with hyperlanes and everything around that time. Yeah.
Anyway, so he has her take the wheel. We get this really cool shot of the cockpit, from the cockpit anyway, as they leave atmosphere and into space. And then I guess the question becomes, if he could sense that Osha was there, could he not sense that she was not in fact Osha, that she was May?
I know, I was thinking the same thing, but I guess maybe he's too distracted by everything that's happened. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, so it's
like clouding his judgment, right? But
yeah, there's a piece in the StarWars.com, kind of like the look back on the episode, that talks about how the emotional turmoil or impact of the last, what happened with all the murdering, has clouded his judgment, or has clouded his ability to sense things in the Force.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, he kind of like starts figuring it out later. We don't really get the exact moment when he figures it out, but he obviously hasn't at this point.
No.
But I guess the question is, maybe, does he already know and is just playing along?
I don't think he knows just yet. I feel like he to me, I kind of thought he clicked in on it when she asks him stuff? It's not the Pip stuff. She's asking him a question later on, and it's about it has to do with about whether or not he has like told her the story about what happened yet, right? Doesn't she ask him something weird?
The same. Yeah, it's the same. It's that same conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like right in there that he sort of clues in, like they're kind of having a bigger, longer conversation. I think he's like, "Oh, you're not Osha."
Well, yeah, because everything they've been doing, everything that they do is like in short little interactions, basically.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have a long time to like sit and think, and like we understand that it seems like he's able to read people's minds,
right?
Specifically Soul. That's an ability he has. So if he was doing that to May, he'd immediately recognize.
Oh, of course, yeah,
that's going on. Jonathan Davis in the chat saying hello. By the way, I didn't mention this. I meant to. We are live every Wednesday for this, YouTube and Twitch. If you're not subscribed, go do so. Click subscribe, and you can watch. First of all, you can watch us live, and then because obviously typically we only do audio podcasts, and join the chat and be part of the conversation. Okay, so good to have you here, Jonathan. Okay, so. I agree. I think that is when he senses or figures it out, but it is interesting to kind of clock or note the kind of the times when he doesn't. Anyway, down below, Saul has a bit of a mentee bee, a little bit of a mental breakdown.
Mentee bee.
As the weight of last week's events kind of really sinks in.
Oh, yeah.
I really liked this moment. I think it's I wouldn't say restraint, but it's something that I've been saying for a while that I wish these Star Wars shows would spend more time on, which is just character beats that give us insight into people's feelings and emotions and thoughts. There's no dialogue here, right? He's just kind of letting the emotions wash over him. We're so used to Jedi being kind of this emotionless robots at times. We made the comparison to how they're very similar to Vulcans in that way.
Yeah.
And Saul has been always, the entire time we've known him as a character, has been quite the opposite. And he's seemed to be much more not emotionally driven, but open to feeling and experiencing those.
Which personally, I like seeing that. I like seeing a Jedi, especially a Jedi Master, have a little bit more of those raw emotions, and you see those feelings. Because he just watched his Padawan and former, because I believe, wasn't Jord a Padawan of his too? If not,
no, I don't think so.
But anyways, he's watching these. They're kids, based still, teenagers, whatever, getting slaughtered in front of him. That should affect you, regardless of not feeling attachment. That should still affect you in some way, and it is nice to see real emotion, even though Jonathan, he's obviously stifling it a little bit. But
yeah, Jonathan makes a good point here. He says, yeah, episode 5 would be a lot to deal with for Saul.
Exactly.
And he's a pretty warm Jedi.
Yeah, he is. He's very warm. I like that.
Yeah, and I think we talked about this earlier in the series where he reminds us of Qui-Gon in a lot of ways. And speaking of Qui-Gon, there was this really cool piece of artwork that was being shared around on Twitter this last week of Qui-Gon if he was a general in the Clone Wars.
Oh, that's cool.
It was really cool. And the question was like, would he have been a general or would he have supported the war? And the answer, of course, to that question is no.
No.
He would not have. He would either have secluded himself or he would have, would have made a bigger stink about not supporting that initiative. Or would have been more active in preventing that outcome in the first place, right? Preventing the war from starting at all.
Absolutely, yeah.
But if you see it, it's just a really cool kind of like what if artwork piece. Anyway, so I think I shared it or commented. So if you can at Tower Babblecast, you can probably find it in my feed somewhere. Okay, so yeah, he has this little mental breakdown. He's letting the emotions wash over him. He punches the desk. So there's anger, sadness, obviously, maybe a little bit of fear, regret, and uncertainty. You can kind of see that all on the actor's face, Lee Jung Jae's face. And again, just need to give kudos there. It's a great performance.
It is.
No dialogue.
Yeah.
After Saul leaves, though, Basil emerges again, this time with Pip's head, looking for kind of like a slot to recharge it.
It's so cute.
Which he figures out a way to do. It is very cute. It's funny to like spend these little moments of like him finding a chair and like looking for the right logo to so he can figure out it all. It's just like it's a fun Star Wars-y thing to do, which is to like distract from the main thing with like a cute droid or creature of some kind doing something.
It is. I don't know. I especially just like that just feels so familiar. Like if you have a piece of tech and you're like, oh man, I gotta find a charger for this. It's like something like either, if you find like an old phone or an old camera and you're like, oh man, I gotta figure out how to charge this again. I just think it's like so cute that he's going around trying to figure out which charger to use. Cause there would obviously be so many different ones in Star Wars. Mm-hmm. It's adorable.
Yeah. They need to standardize those ports. They need some USB-C up there. So Jonathan says I liked the otter.
He does look like an otter. I love otters.
And asking do we think the Green Jedi, I assume he's talking about Venestra Rowe, is Sith? Again, this is a theory. We're going to get into that a little bit later in the episode, but spoilers, I guess, for my thoughts on that. I'm not yet convinced, but I think there are some potential hints that it's possible.
Oh.
Okay, so we go back to our unknown planet. Osha continues to tail Qimir as he undresses and takes a bath in a tidal pool. Really cool location here. We see the for the first time shot of his scars on his back.
Yeah.
And I guess this is as good a time as any to get into that. And good time to bring this up, Jonathan. So the theory is that the scars on his back look suspiciously like something you might get from a whip.
Oh, right? That makes so much sense. I thought it was from like a Sith, but that makes sense that it would be from a lightsaber whip.
So I think more likely, here's my guess. More likely is we know if he's not lying about being a former Jedi in some way, right? And he says, and there's this thing about him being like it was a long time ago, right?
Right.
I'm not entirely sure how that, like, what that means and how that works. We'll have to get into that as we get to that moment.
Depends on your species, I guess.
Yeah, but he's a human, so
yeah.
How does that work? Anyway, so maybe it's assumed that he's able to use the dark side to keep himself young, and all that kind of stuff. And he was a former Jedi at one point. It's possible that his Jedi teacher was Venestra because she's been around for a very long time.
Oh, okay.
Right?
That is
she's lived a long life.
Theory, because if she figures it out, it makes sense why she would want to maybe hide it from everybody
but
else.
Then why was she whipping him in the back with her lightsaber?
Well, that's what I mean.
That's a good question.
Like, that's all of that. Like, that makes sense why she would want to hide it from him being around now or whatever, like, happened between them in the past. That's kind of cool.
Or maybe she thought he was dead.
Could be.
That's the classic we'll leave you for dead move, and then turns out they're not dead. You always got to check. If you need someone to be dead, you got to double check that they're actually dead. Right?
Absolutely.
So yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of possibilities here. We we know that there's another Sith in play here.
Do we,
right?
though?
I think the implication is we don't know.
We don't know, but we assume.
So let's working under the assumption that there is another Jedi in play here, or sorry, a Sith in play here, or dark side user, but maybe because we're not even entirely sure they're Sith yet necessarily. But let's say that they are. It seems possible that Darth Tenenbaum or Darth Plagueis are. The timeline lines up for them to be involved.
Absolutely,
yeah. What we know from Legends is that neither of those people are Vanessa Rowe.
Well, yes.
That being said, crazier things have happened.
Yeah.
And I certainly wouldn't call it a lore breaking to make like a change like that. We don't know how Vanessa dies. We don't know her future, and we don't know, we don't know anything about Darth Tenenbaum's master or anything like that, right? So, it's possible that she fills that role. It's weird to me if we're going to introduce another character at this stage with only 2 episodes left that we haven't met before to be a big reveal. Like, oh, unless it's Plagueis, in which case it would have a lot of impact for, the Star Wars nerds in the world.
Of course. Yeah.
Right. Who know that that's Palpatine's master and we've heard his name in the main movies and all that kind of stuff. Unless that's the reveal, I feel like it has to be someone we already know.
Right.
And at this point, Vanessa's the best guess. So
I don't know. I feel like even if she's the reason for that scar, I don't think she necessarily has to be a Sith to have given him that scar.
No, I agree. I agree, but it does seem weird that a Jedi would do that.
It does.
But it could be just another regret. What we learn about the Jedi is they have a lot of regrets that they often like to bury down deep and never talk about again.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
Okay. Right, and then Jonathan mentions that there is a witch in Star Wars that has a mouth that looks like his helmet. This was the character that everyone thought. She's kind of like a dark side god. I'm trying to remember the name of this character off the top of my head, but has this like big wide mouth with like sharp teeth in it.
You're not talking about like one of the Night Sisters, are you?
No.
Oh, okay.
This is a character from Legends also.
Oh, cool.
And anyway, the people were thinking that this character would make an appearance in Ahsoka and would have some role to play in that story. If that's true and they're kind of like looping those things together in some way, very impressive. These shows aren't that coordinated. I'm not ready to give them the benefit of the doubt on that.
Yeah.
And I also think it's a hard sell to bring in like a god-like character. Unless Jonathan, you're talking about someone else that I'm not familiar with, but happy to be corrected. So let's continue on here. And it could be wrong that it's not from I could be wrong. It might not be from Legends. It could just be another canon story that is set, way in the past.
Right.
But either way, I'm not yet ready to make that assumption, though it would be cool to link the toothy mask to something that, exists in lore already. I think what's interesting, this is a larger thing. So a little sidebar here, a sidebar to our sidebar. I think it's a tricky tightrope to walk for Star Wars right now, especially for something like the Acolyte or even Ahsoka, because there is a certain part of the fandom, there's a certain desire from Lucasfilm, it seems, to canonize things from Legends or,
like partly
re-explore idea in certain ways. Obviously, Thrawn's a great example of that, but re-explore, even I guess technically the whole or thing here isn't also technically canon, but it was recanonized after the Cortosis thing. It was recanonized after the Legends switchover. But in general, I think it's challenging to try to serve two masters, right? One being this desire to bring in these deep cut references from Legends that most people don't know about, right?
Okay.
And or just trying to, carve your own path and tell your own story, divorced from expectations that, we talked about Baldemnik, right? A planet that is in Legends, right?
Right.
And, they could canonize it here. Is that more interesting than it just being a different planet? I'm not sure. I don't think so. It can be, but it doesn't. And it can be if it serves the story, I think.
Yeah.
But, trying to force things in to into the current canon just because they existed in Legends, I think is the wrong way to go about it. I think it has to be serve the story first.
Yeah.
So I think it's a tough challenge. I don't know.
I do think that the cortosis makes sense. Like, I like that that's been,
I think it too. Yeah.
Been like recanonized. So I do think if it's something really cool from Legends that they're like, oh man, we should bring that back in because that's like sick. Like, that makes sense to me.
Cortosis is cool. Frick, not so cool. That's my opinion on. Frick is another metal from Legends that's kind of like Cortosis or Beskar or whatever.
Gotcha.
It's impervious to lightsabers, but it's like PHRIK. I just don't think it has a great. I was listening to the podcast. It's like bad branding.
Yeah,
it's like how many more different types of metals can be resistant to lightsabers? Sure, like we're really hoping that the metal on the Dark Troopers that we saw in Mando season 2 would be made of Frick because that's the Legends
I see.
concept. So it's, again, like I said, it's a tough, tricky balance.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's continue the recap here. So we follow, as I said, Qimir as he undresses and takes a bath in the tidal pool. He leaves his cloak and his saber behind, so Osha approaches quietly. She grabs it. Qimir senses her as well, again, assuming that he's known she's been there the whole time, and asks her, how does it feel, right, to hold the lightsaber again? Mm-hmm. And this is where the kind of the whole manipulation thing comes from.
Yeah.
The title for this episode, Teach/Corrupt, is, I think, really, 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 really great.
It is. It's really
I think it's the best title yet, because I don't think what we're necessarily seeing here is her being corrupted, right? There is an element of teaching. He's doing some teaching. He talks about how, want to keep your elbow higher, makes for a faster block, and those types of things. And so there is the underlying kind of idea that I think we're, by the title alone, that we should be on guard. And even Osha calls it out that I'm not so easily corrupted.
Yes,
right?
Yeah. Well, I think with him, it's a very fine line between teaching and corruption, right? Like, he kind of weaves those two together.
Well, again, it's from a specific point of view, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't see using the dark side as being inherently bad. So
no.
I'm not, if to use the dark side isn't corrupting, we do know, in fact, that it is, of course. But from his perspective, it's not corrupting to try to convince someone to use it that way. It's just, I'm just teaching another perspective or another methodology, mm-hmm. right? So it's interesting. But here specifically is where it gets all going. So Qimir makes some small talk. There's a lot of small talk. Reminds me of when he was chatting with May on Kofar on the way to the forest or in through the forest. Where if anything came up that he didn't want to or didn't have a pre-canned response for, would just change the subject. Mm-hmm. He does this a lot in this episode. So he makes small talk about her lightsaber and her form, right? Endearing, to pointers. Everyone likes to get pointers, even when you admit that you don't. Like in golf, everyone wants to offer you advice all the time.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily want it, but it's kind of nice when you get it. I feel like that's the sentiment you get here, right? And so she's getting tips on her stance. She keeps him at saber point, which I think is smart, and continues to talk to her as he redresses. This is kind of I'm making himself much more amenable to not being murdered immediately, right? If his goal is to convince her that he's not a threat, undressing himself is a really good way to do that. If they're most vulnerable when you're naked, right?
Oh yeah.
And we also know that he's ripped.
I don't know. Every episode, this dude's getting better looking. So
yeah,
I think it's too it's just the aura of him too, though, because it's he's so quirky and like weird and kind of like weaselly in the first few episodes, right? And then now he's a lot. It's just different. Like it's a complete like personality change, obviously, because the other personality is not real. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed the way he talks to her when he's saying like, "Oh, you're wondering if it's okay to whatever kill me if I'm unarmed, right?" And then he's like, "Now you're wondering if I can read your mind." He's like, "I can't." I really enjoyed that little like bit that he did there.
Well, it's actually I think it's one of the best parts because he says, seemingly reading her mind, he talks about whether it's honorable to kill him now after the fact, right? He's like, hey, in the heat of the moment, it's just, it's reaction, it's honorable, it's the right thing to do, right? To defend yourself, right? But now a few hours later and I'm naked and we're chatting, is it now dishonorable for you to just cut me down right now, right? So right away he's trying to put her into this position of making decisions about killing him, and putting into her mind this idea of whether it's right or wrong, not literally with the Force, but with good old fashioned persuasion. And he continues to explain that in fact it's not that he can read her mind, but, and I love this, anger portrays your thoughts. And this is something that we've heard before in Star Wars. Specifically, the most similar line to this is Vader in the throne room saying to Luke, "Your thoughts betray you," right?
Yeah.
And what does he say next? A sister, which is great. I've always loved that line. So, there's this general sense in Star Wars that when you don't focus yourself, that there are vulnerabilities that can be detected by other Force users, right? And I like that idea coming to a head here, right? But again, trying to make her feel comfortable with it as a concept, right? Osha, wants answers. She spends a lot of time asking questions in this episode. She actually doesn't get a lot of answers to those questions. Instead, they're twisted into responses that serve Qimir's purposes. So Osha wants answers. Why bring me here? Why not kill me? Am I supposed to be your prisoner? That's 3 questions, technically, right? His only response to that is prisoner. You're the one with the weapon, right? Again, trying to flip this concept of that you weren't in fact kidnapped when in fact you were, right?
Yeah.
And doesn't answer why he brought her there, why he didn't kill her, right? And so she continues, did you kill Sol? Did you kill May? Right? Answer no to both, right? But he does mention, and then again, this kind of like picking at her the way she's thinking or how her perspective, right? Because he says that he's surprised that he'd ask about her former master first, right, and not her sister. But it's really underhanded because she's waking up, she's confused, she doesn't know what's going on. She just saw a lot of her friends murdered. She doesn't know the fate of those people, and never mind the fact that up until a few days ago, she assumed that May was dead. Yeah. So, asking about her former father figure first isn't inherently a bad thing. But the way that Qimir positions it, she should be ashamed that she's not thinking about her sister first. It's another way to keep her off balance.
Yeah.
And again, brilliant from his perspective. And then he kind of uses this as a segue to say, isn't it a special thing, the relationship between a master and a pupil, right? And the way he looks at her in that moment, is very knowing, right?
Of course.
He's kind of this kind of and predatory. And then, but the music is much more seductive, and there's actually another scene that's even more on the nose with that. But
okay, I thought so too.
Yeah,
but we'll get to it.
They're doing the seduction to the dark side thing on purpose.
Yes,
it's helpful when your dark side teacher is a very handsome young man.
Yeah, it's
but I guess the concept here is that he's playing on or preying on her vulnerabilities here.
Yeah.
With ease. And Osha, who is such a emotionally driven person, less so than May, but is still, relatively open. You can read her like a book. Is particularly susceptible to this type of manipulation.
Course. And I feel like she also doesn't have like the training that, she's not a full Jedi either. Mm-hmm. She's had the training, but not quite the same way as the others as to like not get seduced by the dark side, right?
Well, everyone's susceptible to their insecurities, and Qimir has a particularly good insight into her insecurities, both about her dark side ability, or her force abilities, as well as what he knows about her past from May, presumably from May, and he can't read her mind, or so he says. So I guess it's not surprising, is where I'm coming from. This is that she would be susceptible to this, but it is much more. This seems much more believable than even the Anakin fall, right? At least as was portrayed in episode 3. We got to see obviously more of it in Clone Wars and stuff, and it makes it feel much more.
It does, yeah, that helps.
But there's a natural, again, seduction here and manipulation that's happening that I think is very intriguing to watch, and I think it's what makes this episode good for me.
Yeah, it very, very much does. It's
okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm just saying it's good. I like it.
Okay, agreed. All right, above Kofar, May docks with the hyperdrive, and when Saul arrives, he pulls her into a strong hug, right? A really, hugs, I think, in my opinion, underrated. A powerful hug is as powerful of a connection to another person.
Sometimes that's all you need.
Else.
It's just a good big hug.
Yeah, it's true. I'm a advocate for hugs. More hugs, the better. So, when Saul arrives, he pulls her into the strong hug, and he says, "You saved us, Osha. You saved me. That man, he corrupted your sister. He pushed me to a place. I'm sorry." Pausing here for a moment, he several times, earlier in the episode, he couldn't bring himself to kind of elaborate on how everyone was murdered. Yeah. Right? They're all dead. He says he often walks right up to a line and then recognizes that he's at some sort of line that he doesn't want to cross, and then just jumps to the next thing. There is some similarities with him and Qimir in that way, where he does, and when he doesn't want to address something, he just doesn't.
Just ignores it. Yeah.
And he doesn't change the subject in the same way and try to like play it off like that's not what he meant to do, but he intentionally hides things in a way that's pretty obvious.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's, again, makes him kind of also that kind of emotionally vulnerable. So he says, it's time to make things right. It's time for me to face the High Council to tell them everything. Right. And May seems curious to know what everything in this context means.
Yeah.
Right. So they're interrupted by a message, which is coming back from Coruscant, but the power goes out before they can reply. So Saul sends Osha, or he sends May here, who he believes to be, a mechanic who's trained to do this types of thing, to go and look at the problem. Mm-hmm. It is a nice subtle performance here by Amandla Stenberg, when she's like, "Oh, you want me to? You kind of like you want me to fix it? Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course."
She's like, "Oh, right, yes, I know how to do that."
Right, which is funny. But like, does she how would she know that though? Would she even know that she was?
So she's kind of just.
I don't think she has that information. Yeah.
No, that's why she has to get like Pip reset to so he can do it, because she's like, "Fuck, I don't know how to do this."
Yeah. Anyway. Why do you think the power? Do you think Basil knocked out the power here? By time? Figures things out?
Maybe to buy time. I don't know. Or whether... See, I thought maybe she did something, but I don't think she would know how, to be completely honest. But so that she would like stop him from getting messages out. But I don't know. Either that or it's just like literally it wasn't caused by anything other than just, accident, right?
Yeah, I guess it could just be faulty wiring or something, just like a general like, oh, power's out. We'll go get that fixed. But with Basil running around, I get the sense that he's more involved here than
it does make sense that he would, because it's like you'd think he'd be trying harder to like try to, I don't know,
the message out.
Yeah, get the message to Saul. Yeah.
And so maybe what he's doing here is by like turning off the engine and like, or messing with the transceiver and stuff like that. He's like
helping him figure it out.
Buying time to allow him to figure it out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not confirmed. It's just a theory. Okay. So back on Coruscant, we get this really cool shot of the temple from below. We rarely get to see like the temple's understructure. I think of like when Bail Organa arrives at the temple in episode 3.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of get a little sense of that, but we just rarely see it. And I think it's cool to get that perspective. And obviously to show the Jedi temple from below gives it that a little bit more sinister look to it.
Right? Very much so, yeah.
Venestra is having a meeting with I think I'm going to say this wrong, Abedinito senator named Chawant. And apparently, which I didn't know, is that the Abdenitos, all the names of those characters are Beastie Boys references.
What?
Yeah. So this one is named is another Beastie Boys reference, specifically the what you want.
Oh my God, I love that.
Yeah, I think it's funny. So that's a fun little Easter egg there. Or not really an Easter egg, just I guess like behind the scenes thing. Anyway, they're talking about an external review of the order, which is apparently an ambitious senator who is grasping for power is behind this initiative. I guess this gives us a little bit more insight into the politics of what's driving Venestra and stuff like that. But the politics I've always found fascinating, or not always, I guess, as I've gotten older, have found fascinating in Star Wars. We're not getting a lot of that here, where they're just hinted at. And I guess this kind of like brief glimpse of it is enough to kind of remind us that it's still a motivating factor for Venestra. Any thoughts on that?
No, I just got real thrown off about the Beastie Boys thing, which I really enjoy.
Rachel, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah. Wait.
Uh-oh.
Can you hear me?
Oh,
can you not hear me?
Sorry,
am I back?
You cut out there for a second.
Weird. Oh, odd. Sorry, I was just saying I got really thrown off by the Beastie Boys reference. Oh.
Okay. We have a delay? I think we've got a bit of a delay here.
I do. I think I'm struggling over here.
Is it an internet thing on your side? I don't think it's on my side.
It could be.
The joys
could be because I opened another tab on my browser.
Is your computer so slow it can't handle 2 tabs?
I have a lot of tabs open. Like an excessive amount.
Okay. You might want to. I don't know if that'll help necessarily, but it might be something to consider.
I'm gonna close a few here, yeah, just to figure it out. But just to make sure, maybe that's why it's being a little slow. I use this thing for work too. Okay.
Yeah. Hey, no, it's all good. No judgment.
Yeah.
Okay. So, sorry. Say what you were gonna say about the alien again, or the.
No, I just like it. I'm enjoying that. I'm gonna have to go deep dive and look into a little bit more of those names because that's cracks me up.
I want to go review those and make sure that it's like what other. First of all, I don't think if someone said Chawant, I was like, I don't know if I would have gone straight to what you want.
Yeah.
But once it's told to me, I can't unhear it now. So maybe there's a few more of those for the Abdenito
read them all and figure
species.
It out. Mm-hmm.
Okay, continuing on. They're interrupted by Padawan, who is reporting on what he heard from Saul. This is Mog Adana, quote, a Padawan stationed at the temple on Coruscant. Mog Adana is differential to his elders, but not afraid to speak truth to power. This is from the Star Wars Databank. He comes off as very annoying.
Right? I was going to say the same thing. Like, I don't like him.
But that doesn't necessarily he also might end up being dead by the end of this episode with this series, but so we should be careful with that. Mean. And I don't love the name Mog, but you can't pick your name, so it's not his fault.
It's true.
I think it's funny that they included this based on just the interactions we get from this episode, because not being afraid to speak truth to power is his version of reminding Venestra that she gets sick when she goes in hyperspace.
Oh, yeah, right.
It's funny. Anyway, she wants a rescue team assembled so that they can head to Kofar. This would have been the perfect moment for me to play a clip that I've been meaning to add to the soundboard for a long time, which is from Justice League Doom, an animated Justice League movie.
Okay.
Where Alfred and Batman are having a conversation. He says, Alfred, the Justice League are under attack. And Alfred says, by whom, sir? And he says, by me. And because they stole his plans. Anyway, I would have played that here because she's like, how do you know that? How do you know that they're on Kofar? She's like, I sent them.
Okay.
That's this.
Gotcha. I was like, how is that going to be relevant for more than one thing?
It's funny.
Fair.
It can be used in more than one thing. I want it. Maybe with this time off I have between jobs.
Oh, there you go. It's your soundboard. You do what you want with
soundboard. Yeah. Okay. So we head back to the unknown planet. Osha asks Qimir why he seems to know, because she's just on a question asking spree this whole episode. Why he seems to know so much about the Jedi. He says he was once a Jedi, but it was, quote, a really long time ago.
Yeah.
Which I guess, what's your theory here? Obviously, we know from the opera scene that Plagueis could manipulate the Force to extend life, but also to create life.
Yes.
But we just get a sense that he was alive for a very long time, right?
Yeah. I kind of always get that feeling with Sith that they're a little bit, because they tap into the dark side, like they can live longer, and they kind of tap into that almost like youthful fountain of youth kind of look too. So yeah, like I can see him being like real old, maybe not like crazy old, but much older than he looks is what I'm saying.
Sure. It was interesting that, someone mentioned that this on Twitter. I thought was cool. The theory that when Palpatine gets the Force lightning on his face, right, or body, that it's not him being scarred by the lightning, but it's actually him being reverted back to the age or the look that he would actually be if he was. Yeah, I
see that he should look like that.
Yeah, he should look like that normally because he's so old, right? Just a cool idea. I like that. I like that concept. Would be open to that retcon. We just don't know that, right? And just again, all these hints lead to the fact that Plagueis probably is involved in the story, but is kind of pulling the strings. Maybe some sort of phantom menace of some kind. In the behind the scenes. But to me, it ultimately comes down to execution, and if that is the case, how they reveal it. It can either be very cheesy and lame. Or very cool. So we'll find out, I guess.
Hoping for cool.
Me too. Always hoping for cool.
Yeah.
She continues her line of questioning. Why did you bring me here? Right? Repeating some of the questions from before. He deflects, right? Asking what she thinks. This is a classic move, right? Which is like in horror movies, right? When you don't want to, and the Alien's a great example of this. When you want to create a sense of suspense and terror, the best thing that you can do is not show what the bad guy is or what they look like, or in the case of Alien, what the xenomorph looks like, until you're much later in the story, because your imagination is going to be much
cooler.
Well, not necessarily. It's just going to be more frightening. You don't know what it is, so you're just running through all these possibilities.
Yeah, and
it creates a sense of anxiety.
Yeah, and that like anticipation is very cool too. Like, you know what I mean? It's cool to kind of be able to theorize and to guess and to put the pieces together yourself.
Yeah. So, and this is another example of that. Essentially, just in another way, where he, instead of giving her answers, is having her basically jump to conclusions, right?
Yeah.
And so her assumption here is that he wants her for leverage so that he can draw Saul out to finish him off, right?
Right.
Which may or may not be correct. But it sounds way worse because that's the worst case scenario that she can come up with.
Right, yeah.
Anything that he says she can counter with some sort of other concept, or if he just went out and said that, she might scare her off and she goes and steals the ship or whatever, or he has to kill her right then, right? I think that's the other thing to keep in mind, is that if he gets the wrong signal here, he could just go and kill her at any time.
Oh, easily.
I don't think he would.
Very easily.
So he plays this off like he's not threatening, but he is very threatening.
Of course he is. I do also think that he's he's been slighted by his former whatever acolyte.
He feels insulted.
Yeah, so totally. He wants to collect another one. He collects people as he said before. So I think he's true, right? I think he does have like a motivation to really try here to turn her. So I think he really is putting in an effort. I don't think it's necessarily that he'll toss her away just yet, but you're right. Like he could easily kill her in a second if he needed to or wanted.
But this is all part of the plan, right? Like, I'm gonna play your fears against you, right? So answer these questions. I'm gonna answer these questions with questions because anything you say is gonna be worse than anything I can say.
Exactly,
right? Because it's coming from you. Osha remarks that Saul was able to find her before because of his strength in the Force, but Qimir believes that in fact it was her strength in the Force that allowed that to happen. And he's surprised that no one has ever taught her that. There's multiple things here. Right? It could be that Saul could be strong in the Force, and that was in fact how he was able to find her, right? And he could be talking about, by the way, when she was found on that ship and sent Yord. Could be from when they were still master and apprentice. It doesn't really matter. And he's just using this as another way of kind of twisting things around. The other thing it could be is that she is in fact strong in the Force. We have reason to believe that she would be because of the whole twin scenario.
Right.
Or the third scenario is that there is a third party, him, his master, like we think of the Force dyad situation in episode 8, right?
Right, yeah.
And how Palpatine was basically connecting them through the Force so that they could speak to each other, Rey and Ben. So those are all possibilities here. But again, it serves Qimir for her to believe that she is the one that's strong in the Force here.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, to help her believe that too could maybe boost her self-esteem a little bit.
Her ego.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you have to play to her ego. That's what I meant, here, right? He changes the subject. Again, this is one of those examples of like this line of questioning is I'm not ready to go into this yet. So offering her instead advice on how to get to the ship, right? It's like, okay, well, we don't have to talk about this anymore. If you want to leave, you're going to want to swim to that ship before sunset.
Yeah.
Right. By the way, the ship doesn't really seem that far away, to be honest.
No, but I think it's just the water that is treacherous.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. No doubt. But there's like a rocky outcropping that extends from that little like mini island that it's on. That's like not that far. So
because what does he also say to like, or you can wait for the tide.
Right, you can wait for the tide to come out.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, the idea here is like, oh, you're free to go. You're free. You're not a
prisoner.
You're not a prisoner here, right? Reinforce that sense of security. Anyway, Osha looks unnerved. She doesn't know how to react here. Specifically, I think to the information about her being strong in the Force. I think that's intriguing to her, and that's kind of what is that like seed of interest that keeps her going here. So back at the Jedi ship, May is looking around an engine compartment room, finds Pip plugged in, which makes me think that it was in fact Pip that turned off the engine.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The power. Basil emerges from a Jeffrey's tube situation, stomps on her foot. The little dance thing that he does is so funny. It's so good. I loved it.
It's very cute. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm not sure what the point of that was, but he takes a flashlight and runs off.
Yeah.
At the same time, Pip shoots her in the face with grease.
You gotta love when a droid and like a little furry thing just team up.
Oh, it is great.
To bully someone. It's great.
Yeah, it's classic Star Wars stuff here. It's just classic hijinks, Star Wars hijinks.
Love it. Love a hijinks.
In response, May resets Pip to factory settings.
So rude.
Unconscionable, in my opinion. It is this
I know, it's so sad.
That previous Star Wars article on StarWars.com about like the recap basically said this may be the most devastating thing we've seen, including last week's murders.
Pip being reset. Well, maybe Osha has a backup somewhere.
Maybe May and Pip become besties, and she's like, "You guys can be friends now."
Maybe, yeah.
Or who knows? Anyway, I do think it's funny how when it's reset, its lights turn red. Usually, that's a sign that it's it's now turned bad.
Yeah, it's gone evil. But
it's gone evil, like in Obi-Wan.
Yeah,
with the
yeah. Isn't it? Isn't it R2 that keeps backups of C-3PO? And like that's why C-3PO can be like rebooted when he in
Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What a dumb name for a movie, by the way.
We're not getting into it.
It's the worst of. It's clearly it's better than it's worse than Attack of the Clones, which is like objectively sounds dumb. Anyway, so I reset Spit to factory settings, and this, if you had any reason to dislike May before, this has got to be
there's Pip death
top
now
of the list. Like she's murdered multiple Jedi, but fuck that, this is way worse.
Yeah, she killed.
It's so mean. The reference from the StarWars.com thing is like that reminds us of when she forced the control on that like butterfly thing.
Oh yeah, yeah.
As like an emotional reaction to something that's like way beyond the pale. Anyway, May finds Pip a new body and asks it to run a check on the power system. Back at the unknown planet, we start with a shot of a little Skura family nuzzling each other. It's very cute.
Super cute.
I think it's just does such a good job of kind of like creating this dichotomy between the peaceful nature of this island.
Yeah.
Right. And against Qimir's presence. And it's just really well visualized, right? How he can have this evil within him that sits so peacefully on the top, right?
Yeah.
Or underneath the kind of his mask. And meanwhile, you can have these animals, right, living this peaceful life. The connection between the dark side, or the disconnect between the dark side and nature, is always fascinating. We talked about this yesterday when the moths got him.
Right. Yeah. I love that. I love that the connecting to like animals and nature is like an inherently light side thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Same. Osha continues asking questions. And by the way, from a writing perspective, I would like this to be feel a little bit more natural and less like a interview.
Right.
But
yeah.
Given the scenario, I think it works because she is desperate for information. So
yeah, it's kind of like an interrogation.
Yeah, it just does come across as like everything Osha asks is just a question. So I feel like you'd like more insight into her here.
Yeah,
but I think it's all part of, again, what Qimir is trying to achieve. So she says, "What do you mean by my strength in the Force?" She believes that if you don't use the Force, it fades, right? This is what our belief it is in any muscle. If you don't use it, you lose it, right? And Qimir responds by telling her that that's what the Jedi taught her, and that it's only one way to access the Force. I do find it fascinating that the Jedi methodology of accessing the Force can fade if you're not practicing.
Yeah,
but that the dark side is more innate in nature.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be learned so much, and just it's kind of more a tap into your kind of
I think that has to
internal self in some way. It's interesting.
It has to do with the emotion side of it, right? Because like with Jedi, it's like it's a discipline. It's like you said, it's a practice. It's a discipline. Whereas with the Sith, it's emotion based. It's anger. It's hate. It's fear. It's like intrinsic, right? So I think that it makes sense why the dark side wouldn't necessarily fade, because your emotions aren't going to fade. But it is very cool, right? Though, like the way that the two different, sides use it.
This is the kind of stuff that I think if you're a Star Wars fan, you are, eating up.
Oh
right?
yeah, it's great.
Getting more of a, different perspectives and just learning more, kind of peeling back some of the layers of the onion on interpretations of the Force and how it's accessed and why and all that kind of stuff. I think it's fascinating to me. So he says that below the surface of consciousness, it lies powerful emotions, right? But again, the dichotomy here is interesting too, because we know that when the Jedi access the Force, they're taught to let go, right?
Yes.
Divorce themselves of their emotions and of their consciousness, and to tap into the subconscious that is allowing them to access the Force. This isn't actually that different, right? It's just, instead of blocking out emotions and focusing yourself, it's instead to indulge those emotions and rely on those for strength. I think if anyone has ever been like, I think about this sometimes with in sports.
Okay.
So in hockey, this happened last game. I took a penalty.
Okay.
It was deserved. It was late in the game. There was this young kid who was playing a very physical game, and we're in a league. There's no contact.
Yeah,
league.
it's no contact.
He tried to throw a hip check on me. Tried to again play this really physical game, and he was really getting under everyone's skin, right? And to the point where it's like you're kind of going over the line here, from how you're supposed to be playing.
Yeah, it's beer league.
Anyway, so I'm chirping him, and just like he's telling me like I need to learn the rules. Meanwhile, he's the one breaking them, so I don't know, whatever. And I just had enough, so I gave him a good slash to the shin pad, another one to the gloves. Nothing to hurt him, but it's just like enough. Like just sit down, right? There are times when that type of interaction can do two things: either completely undermine my game, right? And just totally ruin my, kind of the focus I had, or empower me with this kind of like next little, wind of energy, right? Yeah. To kind of be like, screw you, I'm going to show you, and go and score.
It's called spite.
Yeah. So exactly. So what I'm saying is that, the line here isn't that different, right? I could channel those emotions and focus myself and go and turn that into positivity.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or I could indulge those
and slash him.
emotions and slash someone and take a 4-minute penalty. Those are the options that you have. So I just think it's interesting. Kind of there's a humanistic element, something we can relate to, I think, as it comes to like how they explore the way that the dark side or the force is accessed.
Yeah, yeah.
He talks about anger, fear, loss, and then he lingers on desire, right? I think tapping this idea that like, I think you have the hots for me, and is kind of, or maybe thinking about how maybe Osha and Jackie had a thing, right? They talk about that later, right? So obviously, loss, fear, anger, these are all the things that Yoda talks about.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Path to the dark side, which of course is exactly what Osha calls out. Those are the path to the dark side. Right. And the response, of course, from Qimir is semantics, which is, I guess, the ultimate perfect word from a certain point of view. Right?
Yeah. Semantic.
Right. Like, it's just like, well, yeah, sure, it's the dark side, or just another way to use the force, and I would like them to explore this further, but I think this is a pretty good exploration of that, even at this point. Any other thoughts on this so far?
No, I don't think so. Are we at the point, remind me, where she has the lightsaber to his throat yet, or not yet?
No, not yet.
Okay.
That's coming up.
Yes.
So speaking of emotions, she starts getting angry, right? She's talking about like, so you tap into the dark side, and you murdered my friends. And his response is, I killed Jedi, those who threaten my existence.
Yes,
right? I'm just self-defense, he says. You killed Yord, a man who didn't hesitate to turn you in for a crime you didn't commit. That does not mean that he deserved to die. Okay? Just to be clear,
it's true.
Qimir, right? You killed Jackie, and this one's the most that stings the most, right? And where do you think that was going to go?
Yeah.
You would have the same relationship you have with her that you have with your master, one-sided.
Yeah.
Why do you love people who can only go so far, who can't go as deep as you can? This feels particularly manipulative to me because there was obviously connection between Jackie and Osha, right? Both being Padawans, to Soul, right? There's a kind of a natural kinship that they shared, and we talked about this before. There did seem to be maybe something more, right? A type of romantic, emotional connection.
See, I never thought so, but fair enough.
I think there's enough there that you could make that connection.
Yeah, you probably could. Yeah.
Right. And I think, and she even said like, next time you're here, we should go to the bar or whatever.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, when instead Qimir does, he kind of twists that and says, "Oh, she was just being nice to you."
Right.
That there could have never been anything more to that. Now, to be fair, he's not entirely wrong here. And I think that's what's so insidious about this whole thing.
Yeah. Well,
it's because
of how they operate. It's just because of how the Jedi operate. Like, they're not supposed to make attachments. Not even not that they can't be friends, but they can't have deeper friendships. They can't have deeper meaningful relationships. Right. So, and he knows that, and he's preying on that. So he's just like, what's the point then? Like, just goading
to
her.
Again, Anakin's kind of whole mental gymnastics he does about love.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So, why do you love people who can only go so far? They are taught not to.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But again, of course, you can make the argument that love is just the Jedi are supposed to love. But of course, that's not really their perspective at this time, the Jedi. So Qimir's not wrong. And Jonathan, thank you for the kind words, saying that we're doing a good job. I'm happy to read compliments at any time. So
all day, every day.
Yeah. I'm not my sister. I'm not so easily corrupted, she says. Kind of at this point, like, your answers aren't doing it for me. I'm not going to side with you on this. And then she storms off, right?
Mm-hmm.
Part of the other thing I like about this scene, by the way, is Qimir during this whole time is slowly approaching her.
Yeah, he's creeping in.
Yeah, but he does offer food, right? He's
nurturing.
Closing the gap, trying to, and then also trying to, like, again, be nurturing.
Mm-hmm.
It's all very good. I think this is all well executed, well written, largely speaking.
Yeah.
There's we've mentioned a couple things, but anyway. And I also think it's funny how she says, "I'm not my sister. I'm not easily corrupted." Obviously referencing the fact that obviously May was working on his behalf.
Yes.
Right. And so the assumption that she was in fact corrupted, and that her sister in general was always more, this kind of sense that she has about May is that May was always more likely to fall to that kind of thing anyway. Right. So her thoughts, my sense here is that everything that, is happening here is kind of being preyed on by Qimir in the same way that he was earlier, but her thoughts betraying her, right? Or her emotions betraying her.
Yeah. I would bet he did like a very similar thing with May too. Like, I feel like he's trying to use the same tactics. Like, it's whenever he did encounter her, he was preying on her hurt and her anger and her hatred for the Jedi for what happened. So it's like, he's just trying to flip that now and change the script a little bit, but do it to Osha.
Yeah. And she even asked him specifically, he's like, did you give the same pitch to May?
Yeah.
And he doesn't even answer that question. So I think the answer to that is yes, probably.
Yeah.
A version of it anyway. Outside, she's gone outside. He approaches her again, reminding her that she seemingly intended to kill him. Hey, don't forget, you were here to kill me. And encourages her to use his lightsaber. This is very Palpatine in the throne room.
Do it.
Right? Do it. It's not the Jedi way. But yeah, like, I'm even thinking of like Return of the Jedi when he's like, strike me down, take this weapon and strike me down.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it's just a very classic, if you indulge these emotions, you'll understand where I'm coming from and be willing to meet me halfway.
Yes.
Which is all he needs. Right. And technically Qimir gets that here. So he walks right into the saber hilt, but she refuses to do anything. She says the Jedi don't attack the unarmed. Again, this is not the Jedi way.
Mm-hmm.
And he grabs her arm, locking them together with the saber in his gut. Why do you think of yourself as a Jedi? They didn't want you. And her response is, that's not true. I left. Why? Because I chose to. Are you sure about that? Again, playing on her insecurities.
Yeah.
She was comfortable knowing that she left under her own auspices. She chose to leave, right? That being said, she clearly has regrets about failing. She wasn't able to pass the trials, wasn't able to pass the tests that the Jedi had for her because she didn't have the connection to the Force or whatever, or wasn't able to tap into it in that way. And that is a sore spot for her, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he's playing it off as they didn't want you.
Yeah. Again, it's that,
and that's not true. She knows that's not true.
Again, yeah, it's just
but
that
she's willing to believe it.
It's just, he's just playing up the whole like, oh, they cast you aside, they didn't want you, trying to turn her against them, right? Get that thought in her head, like, oh, maybe they didn't want me, maybe I wasn't good enough.
You could have used this argument on Ahsoka, maybe, but that's not what's going on here, right?
Yeah.
She tries to pull away, but he won't let her go. He says, "What you're feeling right now, this anger, this pain, this is who you are. The Jedi saw it, and that's why they threw you away."
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, this is classic dark side stuff, right?
So good, though.
Feed the anger, the pain, the hate, good.
Yeah.
as Palpatine says, right? And I can do Palpatine quotes all day, but it just absolutely destroys my throat.
I know, right?
Right? Let the hate run through you.
Yeah.
So he's basically saying here, he's painting a picture of her. And how many times have I talked about how I hate when people said, we're alike, you and I,
mm-hmm.
It's like, you actually don't know me, so you can't make that argument. And says basically, you and I are the same. The pain and anger, that's why we left the Jedi, and gives us this other power, right? And it's tempting to say that, okay, well, if you couldn't be a Jedi, you can be this other thing, right? And still have power.
Yeah.
Right? The seduction side. They didn't throw me away. Then why aren't you a Jedi, Osha? Because I failed, right? And that's the undercurrent here.
Yeah.
Preying on her insecurity about failure. She lights the saber, pushing him against the wall, right? This is exactly what the Emperor wanted Luke to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's what, it's the giving into the emotion.
Yeah.
That
it's losing control. Yeah.
Yeah. He says, now you understand. I lost everything, Osha, but when you lose everything, that's when you are finally free. This is that type of mental construct that people build for themselves that gives them the freedom to do all sorts of terrible things without it hurting their conscience.
Because they don't care about consequences anymore. And
I was already hurt. So because I was hurt, I can hurt others in return.
Yeah.
If I'm free of morality,
mm-hmm.
it gives me the power to do all these things I didn't have before.
Of course.
I couldn't do before.
Yeah. If you have no guilt or shame or conscience, it's it's much easier.
You can do all sorts of crazy things.
Do bad stuff.
Well, things that will, that you can hurt people or step on people, manipulate people for your own aims.
Your own self-service,
Right, because you are free, quote unquote, from the shackles, quote unquote, of humanity.
Yeah.
Right? That being said, those are the things that make us people.
Of course,
right?
Yeah.
So,
and not
anyway.
Sith.
Yeah. She pulls away, turns off the saber, seemingly intrigued, right? Like, how would you read her reaction here?
Yeah, it's so funny. And again, I feel like this is had a very sexual tension charge too.
The way he no, it's there. That's on purpose.
Yeah,
the strings here. This is like romantic.
It
music.
is. He grabs her arm, and I was like, for a second there, I was like, are they going to kiss? I was like, they better not.
That would be silly.
It would. I was like, what is happening? I was like, this is.
Well, they say the line between love and hate is very thin. They say,
but I just but he is. He's very much trying to seduce her to the dark side, right? So no, I just like this scene a lot. I like their
it's cool to see it play out.
Yeah, right. I feel like we don't get to see. I mean, we do, but I like to see the very beginning parts of a Sith and how they work, how their minds work, how they start to try to worm their way into the brain of someone like that and try to get in there and just drop those little bits of.
I also like seeing how does someone who knows this is happening respond to it?
And that's cool.
And
it's
how does Osha she's like, okay, I know what he's saying is mostly a lie, but also some of the stuff has an air of truth to it. How do I, this is the classic temptation, right? How do I take the stuff that is correct or the things that he's saying that are true without letting it affect me, without letting it, him turn me, right? But the secret is that you can't. There's no, once you start down the path to the dark side, forever it will consume your destiny.
Yeah.
So says Yoda.
And I do think it's purposeful that we we don't get a lot from her. Like we're struggling to kind of figure out where she's at right now. Like she's obviously pushing back. She's obviously keeping him, quote unquote, at arm's length. But like I do think this is affecting her.
Well, not quote unquote, literally at arm's length.
You know what I mean? But it is hard to read her as like an audience right now on like where her thoughts lie. So
I would like a little bit more. Obviously, if this was a book, you'd get more internal dialogue or monologue and something like that, and get more sense of that. But I don't know. It's interesting. We're going along here again. Damn,
I know.
Damn. I'm really trying. I'm trying here. Okay, Coruscant. Back at the temple, Vanessa confers with Mog. She tells him that she'll be joining them on their mission. He seems surprised as she apparently gets sick. She calls it unsettled when traveling through hyperspace. Apparently, this is something that's been introduced in the books and the High Republic books.
I'm trying to remember, but I can't off the top of my head.
I mean, it's a fun little character trait that they get to conclude here. If you're a fan of Vanessa from the books, this would be something that you'd be like, ooh, that point at the TV meme.
Yeah.
Right. Despite more pushback from Mog and this idea that like, it's like, are you sure you want to come? From Mog about the deaths probably just being an accident. Oh, it's probably because the planet's so uncharted. Yeah, that's why everyone's dead. Yeah, sure, that's what it is, right?
Idiot.
This is just this kind of like insistence on not assuming the worst. I guess it can be kind of like
again, they have to do
poisoning positivity, right? Anyway, she insists on handling it personally. And we know that she insists on handling it personally because this is a mission that she was trying to keep secret from the High Council.
Mm-hmm.
So, she has personal stake in this. We see a shot of her ship. Her ship is called Kantaros. And this is from the Star Wars data bank. Quote, despite being unsettled by hyperspace travel for most of her long life, Jedi Master Vanessa Rowe keeps a ship ready for whenever she needs to leave Coruscant. Named after her former Padawan Imri Kantaros, Vanessa's ship is a Valkyrie Kuat Consolidated Enterprise VKCE 7100 or 7100X Star Cutter, an experimental design with an integrated hyperdrive, a rarity for this era. Pretty cool, in my opinion. But what do I know? I just like cool ships in Star Wars. Do you know anything about her former Padawan Imri Kantaros?
I can't remember. It's been too long since it's been too long.
I assume you name your ship after your former Padawan once because they're dead. Right?
Yeah.
Because if they're alive and a full-grown Jedi somewhere, you probably wouldn't have named your ship after them.
Yeah.
Right?
Probably not.
That's my hunch. Someone could maybe fill us in on that. I'm not gonna look up the Wikipedia article now. We don't have time.
No.
All right. Back at the Jedi ship with Saul, Basil again is in the Jeffries tubes, being followed in the hallways by May, but she's called over by Saul. She gives him an update on the power situation, but Saul seems distracted. Quote, why couldn't I sense that villain's true intentions when he first met him on Olega? So first of all, I think this is supposed to hint to the fact that when he says, you don't recognize me, it's because he's talking about the events on Olega and not something from before. I think people were really hoping that it would be some deeper connection, but it's not.
Yeah.
And this makes me think of, okay, well, why can't you sense that this is May and not Osha? Same reason, probably.
Right, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
May's response, though, is interesting. I think when you really want something, it can cloud your mind. You can see what you want to see. He fooled us all, right? I think this speaks to the May thing, too. You really want this to be Osha, so it can cloud your mind.
Yeah,
you're not able to see that this is actually May. You see what you want to see. You see Osha here. And then also, she's also talking a little bit about her connection to Qimir, right? When you really want something, you can cloud your mind. You see what you want to see. He fooled us all, including her.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So, and she didn't want to see that he could be her master in disguise. And that clouded her judgment, right? She thought she was better than him when really that was her assumption, which led her down that path to a clouded judgment. Saul notices that she's carrying Pip again, but she's not sure exactly how to respond, and comes across, I think, pretty wooden here. I think on purpose, though. It's like, oh, yeah, totally, my droid. And I think this might be the first hint to Saul.
I think so too. Yeah, he's kind of being like, "Why are you being so weird?" Yeah.
Yeah, about your favorite droid.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Like, why are you not excited?
Anyway,
like, look, I have Pip. He's back.
Yeah, exactly. He admires how she loves her droid despite it only being a machine, which is this kind of empathy that he always connected to, I guess, with Osha. Right. May starts looking back, to the past, and I think uses this as an opportunity to like interrogate, and I think, maybe not interrogate, but to maybe kind of like call him out on manipulating a small child in
yeah,
in Osha. Right? She says, I've always been like that. Osha's always been like that.
Yeah,
I'll read it in that form. Even when Osha was little, she says she had to lose a lot of herself in order to become a Jedi, even if she didn't know it at the time. Right? Kind of, again, my assumption that she's really speaking here on behalf of Osha.
Absolutely, yeah.
But from her perspective, which is that she was abandoned because the Jedi manipulated her, and they had to let go of all the stuff that made her my sister so that she could do that.
Yeah.
And that really hurt me.
Yeah.
That's, I think, is what May is saying. And, Saul's response is, I'm sorry you felt that way. Right. I think his interpretation is that wasn't my intention. If you had maybe said that before, we could have talked about that. But this is the first time I'm hearing it because you're not Osha.
Yeah.
But Osha's response is, May's response is, how could I feel any other way? But that's of course May's perspective, which is like, you stole her. So there is only one response to that, right? Really, she's projecting, which is something she's particularly good at. She wants to know more about what happened on Brendok, and Saul seems ready to say more, but the power comes back on and they're interrupted, which is like the 15th time that they've been interrupted. Or Saul specifically has been interrupted before he's been able to tell that story. With the power back on, this is a weird bit to me. May heads to the cockpit and tries to send a message to the Jedi, I think, but is interrupted when Saul shoots her with a stun blaster. What is she trying to achieve here?
I don't know. I feel like she's probably trying to like call them off. Like, I don't think she wants Jedi to show up there. Yeah, I have no idea. Like, that was kind of confusing for me too. I'm like, what would she be trying to do other than like...
I really don't know. Or she wants to finish her plan of turning herself in?
Maybe. I mean, no, I don't think she would. Because if she wanted to turn herself in still, I think she would just do it to Saul.
Maybe she doesn't trust Saul.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah.
Also, Basil's here.
Yeah.
Just hanging out. Yeah, it's funny. I have nothing here. I don't know what she's trying to achieve. This is one of those kind of like weird character motivation moments that we've seen a couple times in this series. It's odd. Anyway, they get a message back that the rescue team is on the way, and then they should keep his transponder on, which he seemingly turns off immediately and then jumps to hyperspace.
Yeah, which I thought was odd.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, like, is it... Yeah, because he just bounces. So it's like, why are you not waiting for them to
He's taking this into his own hands. This is what, when he was talking with Venestra before about how, like, she wanted to confer a small council. He's like, why? We know where she's going. Like, Jedi are in danger. If we wait, they could die. He was right about that, by the way. And so he's like, after that, all that happened, and after doing it the Jedi way, I'm going to do this my way.
Yeah, that's fair. Because he's just like, no, Osha's in trouble. Like, I'm just going. I'm not waiting for them. Like, they can catch up later. Yeah.
Exactly.
And I mean, it helps for the plot that we get.
It helps for the plot
next.
Too.
Yeah.
I don't find this to be a plot contrivance. It feels character motivated.
Yes.
So what I love is that he pops away at the exact moment that they arrive.
Of course.
Like ships passing in the night. I think that's fun. Back on Kofar, at nearly the exact moment, Venestra and her team pop in from hyperspace. They head down to the surface and interview that same junk dealer or dude or whatever he is that we've met before. We learn that an Umbra moth colony hatched and wreaked havoc on a local settlement. Mog believes that this is probably what killed the Jedi. He just so wants to believe that it couldn't be anything else but just natural causes.
Natural causes, yeah. It's probably just a bunch of moths. I don't know, man.
Yeah. By the way, everyone. I don't know if we'd called them or we knew they were called Umbra moths before, but again,
it says in the subtitles. Okay. In the other episodes.
In the misty forest of Kofar, a grove of trees provided a perfect breeding ground for an eclipse of Umbra moths.
Gross.
larvae gestate in protective cocoons perched on the trunks of Kafarian trees, hatching into majestic winged creatures drawn to the light. Yeah, they are gross. Anyway, Venestra is not convinced that that's what killed them, and they head off into the forest. Back on the unknown planet, night has fallen, and Qimir is working on his helmet, repairing it. There was some very lame criticism that, like, oh, how can you weld the helmet if it's made out of kurtosis? Wouldn't it just turn off the the device or whatever if it does that to lightsabers? And the answer to that question is maybe, or maybe this is just a special device, or who knows? It's really not that big of a deal.
Okay, but that's not how all welding works. Not all welding is done with like
you can do flame. Cold welding too. There's lots of methods to do.
Yeah, because like some of it's done almost like with it's like
blowtorch.
No, there's like TIG and MIG welding, where it's like the wire comes out and then it's like the current of the wire touching the metal that like makes it melt kind of thing.
Yeah, right? You're melting it and then you're
it's not like a flame. It's not like oxyacetylene welding is when you like light the flame.
Why do you know so much about welding?
I took it in high school.
Okay.
I majored in it actually in high school. But yeah, anyways, there's different types of welding, so not all of it is done with like.
Yeah, I mean, this looks like some sort of device that is similar to a lightsaber or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, whatever.
I'm not that concerned about it. It's such a. Yes, it's fair to say that is something that does seem a bit odd. I just don't think it's a big deal. That's my perspective on it.
Yeah, it's like one of those things. It's like, oh, well, diamonds are the hardest thing, but like obviously things can cut diamonds, right? Because we shape them.
Right. So it's like, there's a million ways to explain this away.
A Beskar can be melted too, so
or whatever. Yeah. Okay. Osha asked if she got the same pitch that May received. He doesn't answer that question. Again, saying instead that he made a mistake with May. So changing the subject. I thought she wanted more than just revenge. I thought she wanted what I wanted. And what do you want? Mm-hmm. The power of two. And this is interesting because, again, lots of potential ways of looking at this. Is he mean the power of two in the way that the Sith mean the rule of two, right? Or does he mean it in the way that the witches have the power of two or the power of many? By the way, we got a really funny message on Discord. If you want to join the Discord, you can do so by joining our Patreon feed. We've got lots of really cool stuff going on, especially in the Star Wars channel right now. And yeah, it's exclusive to patrons. So Ramina in the Patreon says, I'm no jokesmith, so someone more clever than I can make a good joke out of Manny Jacinto's character wanting the power of many or Manny. Technically, he only said he wanted the power of two, so I'm extrapolating a bit. Yes, that is very funny, and I love it. The power of Manny is that he's ripped.
Yeah, so ripped.
That's the power of Manny. I think I'm gonna remember that one for a while. The power of Manny. So again, what do you think? Do you think he's talking about the rule of two here, or do you think he's talking about the witches stuff?
I think he's talking about the rule of two. But I mean, he's also probably referencing the witch stuff a little bit too, because he knows her backstory. So I think it's kind of like a double entendre. Is that what I mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah, of one thing that can mean two things.
Yeah.
That's I think it could be both. It's fascinating either way, to be honest.
Yeah.
If it's the witch stuff, then like, what does he think that the power of two means that's different from the rule of two? But I think when you're dealing with Sith, the idea of the rule of two and the power of two is similar enough that the idea that maybe two Sith together are more powerful.
Right, yeah.
I don't know. It's very interesting. I'm not sure more if we're going to find out more about that. Obviously, we don't know more of this episode, but maybe before the end of the season, we'll kind of get clarity on what exactly he wants, because it seems like what he wants is to overthrow his master, assuming going under the Sith presumption.
Well, that's what they all want.
Overthrow his master and tap into this power of having two dark side force users, but under his control.
Yeah.
Right? But we're making assumptions there. So he lifts his shirt here for some reason. It seems like for no reason other than to show off his scar.
I think he's like wiping the sweat from his face.
Maybe that's right. Yeah. Okay. So he wipes his sweat from his face, pulls his shirt up. We see his scar. She wants to know how he got it. Again, he flips it back on her, answering a question with a question. Quote, how do you think I got it? And it's like, Well, I actually don't know. That's why I asked the question. But she says, it looks like someone stabbed you in the back. Again, jumping to the worst case scenario. He says, someone threw me away. And her question is, your Jedi Master? And she just looks at him, or he just looks at her, and it's no answer. But the presumption here is no, not necessarily my Jedi Master, but maybe a master of a different type.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Potentially. It's interesting. Either way, I think it being either one, whether it's Fenestra, if she's a Sith, if she's not, if it's his actual Jedi Master or Sith Master, either way, I think the hint here is that that's who gave him the scar. Either way, it's cool as hell.
Yeah. Like it could very much be a similar situation to the whole Luke Kylo Ren thing, right? Like Luke senses the darkness in Kylo.
Sure.
You know, and he wavers.
Lights up a saber
to kill him.
And then is like, maybe I'll rethink
So, you know, maybe something similar for Fenestra, like notice the darkness in him and
slash him in the back and then
defends himself, and that kind of like happens, right? But
yeah, it's possible. Like, it's much harder to control a whip than it is a sword.
Yeah, or she's like defending herself or defending others, you know. It's not necessarily that he got that in a way where he wasn't, I'm not, you know, not that he's deserving, but I'm not saying, but maybe he got that because he was doing something he wasn't supposed to be.
Right. Yeah.
And then he got caught, and then he got tossed away by Fenestra. But yeah, you're right. It could also just be a Sith being like, I'm just going to kill you now because you're not worth my time.
You're not serving my, exactly.
It could be either.
Kind of like when Palpatine went and took out Maul's brother.
Yeah, Savage, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so, and thought he killed Maul again. Anyway, he changes the subject again and talks about the Cortosis helmet. He's like, well, I'm not going to answer that question about whose master or which master that is, but let's talk about my cool helmet. He says, handy against lightsabers, it's also a sensory deprivation headpiece, like we used as younglings. It blocks out all your senses, ? So it's just you and the Force and what you bring with you.
Mm-hmm.
Try it on.
Very cool.
Obviously, when you think of when we hear the word what you bring with you, we think of Yoda in the dark side cave. He's, you know, when Luke asks what's in there, he says only what you bring with you.
Yeah.
Right. And
only your baggage.
Right. Only your personal emotional baggage. Yeah. And so what he's saying is block out your senses. By the way, super cool that he can't see out of that thing. It makes it way more badass that he's just purely force-based. And, you know, it totally makes sense, right? I mean, we see them training with their senses deprived, and that it helps enhance their ability to connect with the Force. So
also makes his fighting so much cooler.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And also we know, of course, that Kanan was blind for a while, right? And he was able to continue to operate as a Jedi.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, you know, you don't need your eyes to see you. We know that. I just think it's a really cool idea to like kind of take that to the next level, right? Take the blast shield concept that we know from A New Hope and just really be like, no, you're going to lock yourself in this sensory deprivation chamber. It's going to let you tap into the dark side through your emotions, and that you'll be even more powerful.
Yeah,
it's a cool idea.
Very cool.
And I guess maybe not so much like it blocks out mental attacks potentially, but more about refocusing your own mind. So I don't think you know, the Magneto helmet thing is still kind of funny, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
So try it on, he says. She rightfully doesn't trust him. She's like, I'm not going to put a thing on I can't see with you in front of me. No, thank you. And he says, yeah, of course, you shouldn't trust me, which, you know, she should believe. Take him at face value on that. But again, his lesson here to teach her instead of not maybe, you know, the flip side of the corrupt teach coin here, but you should learn to trust yourself. You know, a lesson that she probably does need to learn, but maybe not from him. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, exactly. And it's I don't know. I would definitely put it on that helmet on immediately. I won't lie.
You're like, it's way too cool putting this thing right on. We get more unsettling music as she thinks about what he said, and she looks at the helmet, and we hear that like rumbling sound that we assume we hear with the Force. Sometimes we've associated with the dark side. It's just a spooky sound that we hear that kind of, I think, evokes the dark side. I also think It reminds me of kind of like Ben staring at his Kylo helmet. So, yeah. So back at Kofar, we get a hard cut from the scary, spooky-looking helmet to the dead eyes of a dead Jecki. Really cool moment, like when the use of the music here,
so morbid.
and the well executed with like the strings again, kind of the horror movie shock cut thing. Really cool. Vernestra and her team have found the team, the dead team that she sent. We get those audio flashbacks that we talked about earlier, potentially being Force echoes.
I love those Force echoes. They're so cool.
Yeah. Mog remarks that Osha and May aren't with them, assuming that they likely survived correctly. Mog actually here has a pretty good sense of what happened. He wants to know what happened, though, in more detail. Similar to Qimir, we get a question with a question, right? What do you see from Vernestra? And he starts recapping what he assumed happened, and he's pretty spot on. He's like, well, one really powerful Force user fighting erratically, yada, yada, yada. But meanwhile, behind them, one of the moths tries to sneak up on them, but Vernestra senses it and uses her saber whip, and we get to see it for the first time. Thoughts on the saber whip?
Yeah, I mean, kind of like how I said at the top of the episode, like I didn't love it. But I mean, it's not going to ruin my day. It didn't bug me. I was just kind of like, I was just a little underwhelmed.
I think it takes some getting used to.
Yeah.
I think it's just we need to see more of it used for longer.
Yes. I think I need to see cooler shit happen with it than just like whipping an ugly, stupid moth.
My question is like, if you use it, she ignites it and whips it at the same time, by the way, behind her, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And then it like extinguishes at the exact moment. So like, I've always been held up on the like, what does it look like if she just like leaves it on? Is it like turn limp?
Yeah,
like,
that's what I mean. Like? Is it just gonna is it just gonna look like a wet noodle?
Yeah, and so like maybe it's like you turn it on and whip and then turn it off. Like it's one of those types of actions to make it look more cool.
Can it like wrap around things, or is it?
I assume it would just cut through them, but maybe it can wrap around things that it can't cut through.
Yeah, I don't know.
Potentially,
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. There's just too many questions there. Here's what the Star Wars databank has to say about it. Okay, let me make sure I have the. Oh crap! I lost it. Anyway, the point is, apparently, her lightsaber has two modes: the whip mode, but she can also set it like a normal.
Right.
Lightsaber.
Okay.
And like change its length and stuff. So that's
well.
Cool,
you can always change lightsaber lengths, from what I remember.
Like in the midst of a fight, though.
Not in the midst of a fight, but you can like adjust your
blade length.
Yeah, your blade length, like through your hilt. I'm almost positive.
There's an out of universe explanation. Apparently, lightsaber blade lengths vary wildly depending on which movie. And like the same lightsaber will have different lengths.
Oh, okay.
Blade lengths. Because they use different style props.
I mean, that makes sense.
So they have to kind of figure out an in-universe way to explain that. And that's probably how they do it.
Interesting. Okay. Well, you also have to explain like why like Yoda's is obviously smaller, so there has to have a way of like making them shorter or longer, right?
Yeah. No, 100%. So let me see if I can find this. Vernestra Rose lightsaber. Here we go. It's loading. I hope this doesn't cut out the podcast while I open up another tab. I hope my computer's fast enough to do that. I would love to be able to buy a permanent podcasting computer that has like beefy computer that I can really do whatever. Okay, it says here, while each lightsaber is unique to the Jedi who carries it, Vernestra Rose's weapon has surprising range. When she ignites her purple blade, she can choose to unfurl a whip saber function or the standard shaft of light. So
okay. Fair enough.
The picture they have here is actually pretty cool. I'm going to actually save that image while I'm on it, so I can maybe use that in the episode art. Anyway, any other thoughts on the lightsaber?
Not really. I'm assuming we're going to see it again, and if we do, I'd like to see it in a more impactful way.
It says it's purple, but it looks more pink to me. I feel like the purple I need to see a side by side between Mace Windu's purple and her purple. That's my only thought on that. Okay, so this shocks Mog because he's not ready with his own lightsaber. Anyway, she says, they were all killed by a lightsaber. What does that tell you? A powerful Jedi has fallen. You don't think Master Soul is responsible? Vernestra pushes back here. That is quite the accusation. Who else would have had the power to slay such a strong group. And then she whispers under her own breath something to tip the scales. Isn't that what she said to Saul?
I think it is. Yeah. I thought that was a very interesting like plot thing for them to think it's Saul. I was like, oh, that makes sense why they can not blame the Sith, is if they think Saul has fallen, it makes sense. So I was like, oh, that's a smart way.
They're also not entirely wrong. If Qimir is a former Jedi, he is a fallen Jedi in some.
Well, yeah, of course, that's true. That's very true. But I was just like, oh, okay, I like that. But I just kind of thought it was funny that the Padawan just immediately jumps to that.
Yeah, and I wonder if maybe Venestra's gears are turning, thinking oh, I can maybe use this as political shield,
right? Yeah,
with the High Council, and I could potentially throw Saul under the bus, to cover this up. So, which would be particularly sinister and would certainly point to her maybe being a Sith.
Yeah,
well, who knows? Okay. Also, the other thing of that idea is that if she is a Sith, the idea that the Sith would operate within the Jedi Order itself is a pretty crazy thing.
That is. I don't think she is, but that would be a pretty cool, whoa.
Yeah. It would be hard. I think that would be really hard for them to pull off in a believable way. That's
You'd have to have some kind of backstory about how that happens. It's just for, she'd be like, well, how the fuck did that happen?
And why wouldn't that continue to happen? If you were able to operate openly in the Jedi, wouldn't you just keep recruiting Padawans to your, your, you know what I mean? I don't know.
Exactly.
Anyway, they decide they need to return the ship to prepare the bodies for burial, but they're she's in a rush. So there's more to this, what's going on here, right? I still don't really understand the tip the scales thing.
I don't either.
I would like that to be better explained. Okay. Back at the Jedi ship, May wakes up to find herself cuffed to a bed. Sol insists that she's not going to hurt her, but does it in a really sinister way. So it's really kind of showing the Jedi in the not best light here. Sol talks her through what's going to happen. They're going to find her master, save Osha. But before that, she's going to listen. And he's going to talk to her about everything that happened 16 years ago and how he feels about it. And I presume this is all going to happen in flashback.
Absolutely.
That's my guess. Yeah. I've had 16 years to think about what I would say to you if I ever had the chance. So you're going to listen. And this is why when you go to the next shot and then we end the episode, it's frustrating to me that I would really like to hear what he has to say here.
Me too.
And I think it should have been in this episode, even if it's just
the flashback
him explaining it
here, so we can have the next two episodes to I know.
Yeah, exactly.
Give us a 45-minute episode and give us a 15-minute flashback, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or give us Sol's perception of what happened, right? And then we get to see the kind of the true version of it or whatever.
Yeah.
Either way, I want to see May's response to learning this information, and I want to see Lee Jung-jae tell this story and not it just be told in flashback, right?
Yeah.
And the emotion and is he upset about it? How much? What specifically makes him most hurt? These things are what makes the show tick, and I think it would be a shame if we don't get that.
I agree.
And we get some sinister music here again, that creating that dichotomy. We cut to a long shot to black, which makes this kind of last bit kind of feel like a bit of a stinger. We're back at the unknown planet. We're looking at that same helmet again. It's crazy when you have a helmet just kind of that has a bit of a face.
Right, yeah.
When you just linger on a shot like that, it's just so eerie.
It is.
Right?
It's very unsettling.
What is it thinking? Does it have its own motivations?
Well, there are, and not that I thought this was a thing, but there are Sith relics that are helmets or masks and stuff too. So you're ooh, is there something more to this helmet? Is she going to put it on and hear a big spooky Sith voice or
Right. It's not this episode, but there's all sorts of cool things, right? May is fascinated, right? It's got that hypnotization type of thing going on here, right? And so we see a vein of cortosis in the cave. She notices it as well. That gives us into where the helmet comes from, but there might be more to it than that. She stares at it for a while before picking it up. The music cuts out as we get a first-person shot of her putting it on. All we see is a small crack of a tiny amount of light. We hear her breathing inside the helmet before cutting to an external shot, and we hear her breathing again, this time through the helmet, through the through the kind of speaker or whatever, however you want to altered voice thing. And this obviously reminiscent of Vader. There's a similar scene in Revenge of the Sith when the helmet comes over his face and the music cuts away, and then we hear his sound, right? And it's so sick. I always think of the beep sound it makes when he like turns it on. Beep. Love that. So I saw someone complaining that this was like, oh, so unoriginal, but like as we know, for all things in Star Wars, it rhymes. This is a honoring of that moment, not a
shut up. It was good. I liked it.
Yeah, you tell him.
I told him.
And then cut to credits.
Oh, I love that. I love.
What do you make of?
I liked it. I liked it so much.
Yeah.
I loved I just love that cut to the end. It was really good. Like her having the helmet on,
like her wearing the helmet. It's like it's such a different look for her. Yeah. It just creates this whole different persona, that an interpretation of the character that we've never seen.
Well, and just being able,
just
being able to see like how much you can't see in it too was very cool. So, and then just like cut to black was like awesome. I was like, oh, that was such a good way to like end it.
Yeah, I loved it. I again wish this episode was longer. I like this moment here. This kind of like tiptoe into temptation that we see with Osha here. And like when you put on a mask, it lets you kind of become something else, right? Yeah. And does putting on this mask do that for Osha? There's so many fascinating elements here that we don't, we'll hopefully get to explore next week, and the week after. So 2 more weeks of Star Wars, on the calendar, I'm just thinking like, okay, we got next week and the week after. I'm not busy because I have no job. So, and I know that your wedding's coming up, so that is it's on a weekend, so that's also not in the way. So I'm not thinking there's gonna be any disruption to the schedule.
Should be all good
going forward. So look forward to us being live Wednesday evenings around 8 p.m. Central, and in your podcast feed Thursday afternoons usually is when I post them. Find that on all your podcast delivery services, Apple, Spotify, etc. If you haven't done so, make sure to subscribe, leave us a review, whatever you can do. And if you have the financial wherewithal to be able to do it, head over to patreon.com/TowerBabbleCast. Subscribe, join the Discord, help support the show, and get some bonus content for your trouble.
Yeah.
But until next week, may the Force be with you.